Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Yes, welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we take the flight to one of the most beautiful countries on the world. That's right, Italy, the home of the maestro, the home of arguably horror's greatest filmmaker. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Grande's Graveyard, not one, not two, but three Animals trilogy. Yes, from the maestro one, Dario Argento. Yes, I'm super excited here tonight on Grande's Graveyard because we are going to be talking about one of, if not my favorite all-time horror filmmaker in Dario Argento, and of course the first three films that he cut his teeth into the business with these three movies I have from all three special editions from different companies. First, of course, his debut feature film from 1970, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, this awesome Arrow edition. I'll get into this and show this off a little bit. This is a badass 4K ultra high definition edition. Of course, from our good friends over Blue Underground, his follow-up, his sophomoric effort. Of course, this is the Cat O' Nine Tails. Yes, the Cat O' Nine Tails from Blue Underground. And then finally, last but certainly not least, of course, from our good buddies over at Severin Films, even though this was an overpriced one, this is his third and final of the three Animals trilogy. This is Four Flies on Gray Velvet. Yes, from Severin Films, the 4K Ultra HD. I know there's a lot of controversy about this release, which we can talk about. I'm never one to shy away with how I really feel about things, so we could definitely talk about that. But in the meantime, we have some people in the house. Let's check out everyone's in the chat. We have Miss C is here. I mean, if there's ever a week to say ciao grande and friends. Hello, all welcome. AJ Zitro's in the house saying hello, everybody. Miss C saying hi to AJ, and of course we got Texas THC 1965 is in the house. Good evening, y'all. What's going on, good brother? Hope all is well with you. So I'm super excited tonight to be talking all things Argento. Just a quick reminder, tomorrow we will also be live with a show where good brother Fever Dreamland Theater, aka Anthony, he will join me again for the first time in almost exactly a year from the last time he came on. We talked all things Twilight Zone Season 4. Tomorrow we'll be talking all things Twilight Zone Season 1. We go back to the beginning. Just like we are tonight, we're going back to the beginning of the Maestro. And since we're doing this, I figured, why not give a little song, right? Because I wanted to get into the Italian mood, right? You can't just talk about Dario Argento and his giallo films. We have to maybe break into song, maybe sing a little bit. Come on, a little bit of Dean Martin in this motherfucker. When four flies hits the skies like a cat on nine tails, that's a Dario. When there's three animals like a bird or a fly, that's Argento. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-a-ling, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and we'll sing Dario. Es un maestro, uno amiano, el giallo. Yes, a little bit of Italian singing never hurt anybody here tonight on Grande's Graveyard. We are live and in living color. Welcome to the Dario Argento special where we talk about the three Animal trilogy. Baby, we are ready. Who else is in Grande's Graveyard? Only on the Graveyard. See, I'm the only motherfucker that's going to be breaking into song, all right? But last week, YouTube got pissed when I broke into song with the Addams Family, but it happens. Ciao grande, Matteo is here. Long live the maestro. Animal trilogy. It's like a symphony divided in three acts. What's your thoughts on sci-fi elements in Cat and Fly? Hi, Graveyard. Welcome, Matteo. We'll get into everything. We'll get into all of my thoughts on these movies. So don't know if I'm going to answer those questions quite yet, but we'll get there. Don Belbo's in the house. Sup, Triple P? What's going on, Don? Hope all is well with you, man. That's the Prime Minister of Sinister right there. Ciao, Matteo and Don. That Cat O' Nine Tails looks familiar. Neon Black Reviews is here. That's right. I won this in a cool competition that Neil did. And he did the 500 subscriber giveaway where he picked names out of a hat or a box, and I got picked second, so I got my choice of two Blu-rays, and this is a Neon Black Reviews Blu-ray that he sent to me. So cheers to you, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Let's see. Hey, Miss C. Hey, AJ, Mateo, Dan, Neon. Jonathan says, you're singing Junior Soprano singing. Hell yeah, let's go. I love it. My parents, funny enough, my parents met him It was funny. Like I was driving in the car today and I'm like, man, like, how do I bring a little bit of extravaganza to this motherfucker? And I said, you know what? Let me do a little bit of a song in the intro, Dean Martin meets Dario Argento. I feel that'd be kind of fun. So everybody, I don't have anything to hold up. I just drank my water. So cheers to a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy weekend. And we're going to get right under the way with this son of a bitch. Of course, it all started in 1970. It all started with a little movie that could. It all started with the bird with the crystal plumage. An American expatriate in Rome attempts to unmask a serial killer he witnessed in the act of an attempted murder and is now hunting him and his girlfriend. Yes, the bird with the crystal plumage. First of all, this edition from Arrow Video, this 4K ultra high definition edition, is absolutely incredible. I figured I'd show this off a little bit. I mean, of course, they always come out with the little fun little booklets here, which is awesome. I like that they did the blue technique because that's actually, in my opinion, the best color used in this film. There's a really great death sequence in the telephone booth, and that background is all blue. So always do a great job with their editions, do Arrow. I mean, just great pictures here, and then, factoids about the film. This is a very interesting read. I actually read this before bed last night. I thought this was really cool. Of course, you can't be remiss without the, of course, Arrow posters that they give, which are double-sided as well. If you don't like one side, you could always go with the other. Of course, the newly commissioned artwork, the bird with the crystal plumage, and of course the original artwork on the back, the bird with the crystal plumage. That's the original artwork, which is fantastic. I actually really like both. But then again, on the 4K itself, you get this also old school artwork with the Italian text right here, which is very fucking cool. And transfer looks great. Of course, you also get lobby cards because Arrow is the best there is, the best there was. It's the Bret Hart of horror Blu-ray companies. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be of horror Blu-ray companies, because you get all these awesome lobby cards that come with. And man, I'm just such a nerd for these things. I love me some lobby cards, man. Really, really cool stuff here, and I can never get enough of Arrow's releases. And it's funny, I know they did Cat O' on 4K as well, but I do have this standard blue and I won it for free, so it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, it kind of tastes a little bit sweeter that it was free for me. But this movie and the story and the background of this movie is so fucking interesting to me that I wanted to kind of share it with you all, if you wouldn't mind, because I do want to get into the film, my thoughts on the film itself, but the story of the making of this movie is actually just as interesting as the movie itself, and that's saying a lot. Argento, of course, was a longtime film critic, and he wanted to take his attempt into writing, and so he started writing screenplays, working with one Sergio Leone, and he loved it. He loved writing. He became very infatuated with writing because he started with writing reviews, then he started writing screenplays, and he became addicted to it. And the story for this particular giallo came to him while he was lying on the beach in Tunisia, I believe it was. And he said in his interview on this 4K, which is a great interview, he said that it almost came to him in his dreams and almost came to him in his thoughts and visions and things like that when he was lying there on the beach in Tunisia. And as he started to write the story, he said, I'd love to direct this. I'd love to give a stab at directing. And he went through all sorts of distributors to try to give him the finances and the money to go and shoot this film. Of course, he was a first-time director. Euro International was one that he approached, and they were interested, but they ended up passing. And then, of course, it wasn't until Goffredo Lombardo over at Titanus Distribution Company. He was the one that said, all right, we'll give you the shot, kid. And you would think, things went good, and he gave him a smooth kind of run and a smooth try, but he gave him $500,000, right? And of course, Argento's mother was a writer. Argento's father was a film producer. He stepped in and put up some of his money so his son could film his vision. He and Lombardo, they came together and they kind of raised the money, about $500,000 in United States dollars. Of course, right as Argento started shooting, Lombardo said, I don't like your filmmaking. You seem amateurish. I want you gone. I want to replace you. He fought to have Argento fired. Argento fought back and said, no, this is my film. It's my vision. I'm staying. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to prove you and everybody who thinks I can't do this thing right. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to prove all of those people wrong. And he had a great confidence to him. Of course, this whole thing was shot in Rome. He wanted to originally shoot it in Turin, but they didn't have the equipment, the workers, the money, all that stuff. About a 6 to 7 week shoot. And he did experience a lot of problems. Of course, the lead actor, he got Tony Musante, who is a really good lead. I like Tony Musante in the lead of this movie. He wanted to have a say in everything because everybody was jumping on the rookie. Okay, you're a rookie. You've never done this before. I'm an actor. I've been in a lot of films. I'm going to have a say on the screenplay, and I'm going to have a say on how this particular scene is shot or how I'm lit. And everybody kind of wanted to say over Dario, and his confidence and his new school style of technique really kind of changed the game for giallo cinema at the time. Of course, Mario Bava had made the first giallo in 1963 with The Girl Who Knew Too Much, but it wasn't until this film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, where giallos all of a sudden started to become a very popular type of film in Italy. Of course, after you get this, you get the monkey see, monkey do business that is known as not just Hollywood, but hell, Italy too. Once you get, of course, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, monkey see bird with the crystal plumage, monkey do black belly of the tarantula, monkey see the bird with the crystal plumage, monkey do the iguana with the tongue of fire, monkey see the bird with the crystal plumage, monkey do Don't Torture a Duckling, which is probably one of, if not my favorite giallo films, which is Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling. But this really made it popular. This was really the movie that sparked the whole fucking thing. This was, I know it wasn't the first, right? It may not have been the first or the best. Like, I know there are a lot of people that will argue, but this was one of the most vital and quintessential. This thing really got the ball rolling. And I know I just think I was at the story was crazy that Lombardo, he didn't want to work with Argento. He wanted to fire him and he felt the film didn't work. And when it initially opened in Turin and Milan, it bombed. And Argento said that if the movie had bombed in Florence or Naples, that his career as a director would have been over. He would have went right back to screenwriting. And then he said the fabled tale where he showed up for the screening in Florence and people were lined up around the block. It was a small town and, you know, word of mouth had spread and people were loving to love The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. And this thing fucking took off and became a monster hit. I believe it played for over 2 years in Italy. I mean, that's quite something. I mean, to have a movie that plays for 2 straight years, that's how big of a hit that this movie was. And it turned a lot of heads and it really put Dario Argento on the map as horror's next big thing. And it's amazing all the kind of things that he had to go through. I mean, mean distributors that didn't want him and lead actors that felt that they had more of a say than they really should have. And at the end of the day, they decided, fuck it. You know what, this guy, maybe there's a method to his madness. And I thought that was really the interesting thing about the backstory of this movie. So that stuff I definitely wanted to mention, but we have some more people here. We have Trenchy in the house. Hey, what's up, Trenchy? The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, one of the best directorial debuts ever. I completely agree with that. I'm excited to get into the movie itself. Bird and Deep Red, the twists in those films blew my mind. And you know, it's funny. Bird is kind of the precursor to Deep Red. Like, it's definitely in that vein. The plots are very similar, the setups are very similar, but the way he executes them, it's funny. You can see this is the, you know, debut, and then Deep Red is made by someone who's way more experienced. But they're both fantastic films. Aiden says my Arrow video earned a huge respect from me when they released True Romance and my all-time favorite film, Southland Tales, the true MVP of Blu-ray companies. I agree. I think they're the best Blu-ray company out there. I love Southland Tales. Don't know of a lot of people that do. When James Cameron, working on the script for The Terminator and was under the weather and had a dream of the endoskeleton. Isn't that amazing how that thing's happened? Welcome, Slasher Fred. Dario proved them wrong for damn sure. Great debut and didn't stop there. That's right. It was only really, you know, the business was just about to pick up, as old JR would say. What's happening, good brother? Good stuff, even if you are a Hereta hater. Subjective Perspective Collective is in the house. Welcome, my friend. I am a Hereta hater for life. Dario proved them wrong, and then some. Filmmaking in Bird is truly impressive to this day and truly stylish. Yeah, no, it's a fucking incredible movie. I'm very excited to get into it, the movie itself. I just had to give that backstory because I was just always so fascinated, like all the shit he had to eat to go through this movie. But at the same time, what really endears me to Dario Argento is what he used, right? Like, his mother and his father grew up, you know, he grew up around them being in the pictures. He was a producer, she was a writer. And he does tell the fun story where his father was on the couch in the living room just talking with Ennio Morricone, just happened to be meeting with him because they were going to film, upcoming film. And Dario was like a teenager at the time. And Dario's, hi, you know, nice to meet you, Ennio. And he said, hey, you know, if I ever direct a film someday, I'd love you to score it. And he said, you know what, kid, I'll do it. If you ever make a film someday, I'll come and I'll score it. And of course, you know, once that day came, almost 20 years down the road, Ennio stuck to his word, and Ennio said, okay, kid, I'll score the movie for you. And there's a great anecdote where Argento went to his house with all these soundtracks, and, oh, I want it to sound like this and this and this. And Ennio was like, kid, I'm not going to be imitating anybody else's music. I'm fucking Ennio Morricone. I'm going to make this thing work. And the beautiful lullaby score in this. La, 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 la. As the movie opens with all of these wonderful pictures of these women in the streets, and we get the idea that our killer may be a pervert, taking all these pictures of sexy women walking on the streets, and we hear these beautiful la scores, almost something Lalo Schifrin heard this score and fucking jacked off somewhere. That, you know, that motherfucker heard this and went, where the fuck is my musical composition sheet for Amityville Horror? Because that's what he did. You know, Lalo Schifrin was a huge fan of the score of this movie. I don't even have to look that up. I know that's for a fact. But the lullaby score is fantastic. And not just, of course, you know, Mr. Lalo Schifrin, but Mr. Quentin Tarantino. If anyone's a fan of Death Proof, starring the legendary Kurt Russell, my all-time favorite actor, there's a scene where he's watching the girls get off the airplane from the airport. And if you listen closely, you can hear the score, Ennio Morricone's score from this movie. La, 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 la. So good, as Stuntman Mike is taking a picture of the women, you know, salivating. Oh boy, taking the pictures. I was like, oh my God, what a cool callback to an Argento film. One of the best Argento films. Mernzi's here. Fulci lives. Oops, I mean, Argento rules. What's up, everybody? I know, definitely more of a Fulci guy. And man, I got to tell you, I mentioned Don't Torture a Duckling. That might be my favorite of all the giallo. I mean, this has got to be up there. Deep Red's got to be up there. I mean, I really think Blood and Black Lace has got to be up there. I mean, it's those three. It's Bava, Fulci, Argento. I mean, those are the three best Italian. Diodato's got to be in the conversation. Hey, Dirk, been missing you, brother. People saying hi to one another. It's definitely is Aiden. Let me scroll down here. My favorite of the three is Four Flies. We'll get to Four Flies. Stoked about that. The Maestro loves Turin. For him, the most gothic Italian city, and I agree with him. You know, Turin, from what I've seen, is just gorgeous. And Matteo's born and raised in Italy, so Matteo probably knows all these towns. You know, Florence and Naples and all these things. It's so cool. I own 20 Argento titles in my collection. Definitely a huge fan of Dario Argento and his style of filmmaking. I'm a huge fan as well. I own a ton of them. You can definitely see Mario Bava's influence on Argento. Yeah, absolutely. It shows that style can make a career. Good movie, in my opinion. I would agree. This is a damn good movie. We're going to get into all to the gory details. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to catch up with comments. I neglected y'all for a little too long. For me, Plumage is more revolutionary than Deep Red, a masterpiece, but Plumage really took the formula and changed it in front of our eyes. That's right. I think like Deep Red is a very similar plot, right? Because this does discuss the story of a writer who, he's an American writer. He's visiting Italy with his girlfriend, played by Susie Kendall, who you'll recognize, of course, from Torso, which is a great movie, a little Sergio Martino joint. Susie Kendall worked with all the fucking biggies. I mean, she worked with Lindsay, with Martino, with Argento. So Susie Kendall had been around the block when it comes to all the wonderful, you know, Italian filmmakers that were up and coming at the time. But it's a very similar setup. Of course, you have this guy. He's a writer. He's in Italy. He's scheduled to go home soon. And one night he's out and about walking the streets, and he sees this woman getting attacked. He sees this woman getting attacked by a man in a raincoat. Of course, the woman is this woman right here, who gets stabbed in the stomach and starts crawling towards the door in this beautiful art gallery with this beautiful kind of clean white scope room where our lead tries to come in and save her. He's banging on the windows. He gets trapped in between a double glass door, and he's banging on, hey, I'm trying to help you. I'll call the policia. He's trying to call the police, and she's, you know, bleeding profusely and crawling to him. And it's a really good way to set a tone right off the bat. You set a mood like, holy shit, you're not even 5 minutes in and all this has happened. I mean, this is quite, you know, the opening, in my opinion. I think it's really good. And we're, of course, into the investigation where Enrico Maria Salerno, who plays Inspector Morosini, he's in this movie as the main inspector. And of course, Eva Renzi is the actress who plays the you know, almost victim, because of course she survives here in the beginning. And from there, you have a little bit of a mystery, and one by one, people in the town, women especially, are being picked off by this, you know, unknown assailant wearing black gloves, wearing the raincoat, wearing the top hat, which of course, you know, is a giallo staple. The black glove killer is that goes hand in hand. That is giallo. And of course, we would have got on the cover here, the black gloves and holding the woman down in her nightgown, and just brutal murder sequence there. Hey, Grande, nice to see you. Hope all is well. Dude, always doing well. I'm hoping you're feeling better. Anthony Chobot is here. How are you, buddy? By the way, I'm down to 834 subs. Dude, no worries, man. You'll keep growing. And Neo Morricone, truly one of the best ever to do it. I agree. I don't really like Don't Torture Definitely. Maybe one day I'll like it. I think it's a masterpiece. Grande, do you want to go to Italy one day? I would love to go to Italy one day. I know Matteo, I think, is going soon. So, man, I'm jealous. Aiden, out of the Argentos, 20 Argentos, I love 7, like 3, and the other 10 don't get watched by me. Okay, fair enough. Hey, Grande, buddy. What's up, Anthony? Plumage had the cinematography of Vittorio Storaro, who did the cinematography for Apocalypse Now, Conformist, and The Last Emperor. And the music of Ennio Morricone was the production design of Dante Ferretti, who did the sets for Gangs of New York. Yeah, that's right. And man, he does a great job. Argento said it was a wonderful time working with him. This was the first film that cinematographer had done in color. And it pops on this 4K. I mean, I highly recommend the transfer on this 4K for a movie that's over 50 years old. It still looks fucking really good in 4K Ultra HD. I apologize if you said that already. Dude, no worries. This film sounds like a pre-Friday the 13th. Well, in a way, and I'm sure a lot of giallo enthusiasts will get mad at me saying this. This was the Friday the 13th of giallo films. This is the movie that made it popular, and a lot of people in turn tried to rip it off. Like all those movies a Woman in a Lizard Skin is another one. Like taking an animal and putting it in the title of your murder mystery Black Glove Killer movie, and that's what they did. I named them all: Black Belly, the Tarantula, all these movies that sort of kind of took the formula and tried to do it on their own. Don't Torture is probably the best rural setting giallo. Completely agree. Love Don't Torture a Duckling. But let's get a little bit more into some of the sequences in this. Because I think it's truly a great film. As we follow Tony Musante, there's some great murder sequences where there's a woman, she's in this building and she's going to make a call in the phone booth. And it's just this very dark blue colored phone booth, and she kind of goes in and goes to make the call. And I love the way Dario sets up the tension in this scene where this woman's making a call, but she almost doesn't see anyone, doesn't hear anyone, but she feels them. She feels that murderous presence, in this hallway with her. And then, of course, she's kind of looking around, and the killer breaks in with a switchblade in hand and just slices and dices. And it's quite horrific to watch, to see, a young, beautiful woman in such a beautiful lit blue room, get sliced and diced like that. It's quite horrifying. Of course, you have this one, which is on the cover here, where the woman is retiring for bed for the evening. And of course, the killer breaks in and holds her down, opens up her shirt, kind of feels her up a little bit, and then starts doing their work. You get the idea that this murderer is a pervert in some way, is someone that is turned on by rape and molestation and sexuality, and this is someone that's really, so which makes you think, okay, of course it's going to be a man, it's going to be some fucking fat ugly guy, which is wearing black gloves and the raincoat and the whole 9 yards. And when I first saw the movie, I thought, wow, that's good misdirection, because it ends up not being anything like that. We'll get into who the killer is and the twist and all that. But like I said, I love the score from Morricone, that lullaby score, the la 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 la. Murder sequences, pacing here is quite well done. I think Argento did a lot better job here with pacing than he would do in the follow-up here, Cat o' Nine Tails. I think this is the most complete of the Three Mothers trilogy. It has the most well-rounded murder sequences. It has the most well-rounded plot, pacing, probably the best acting. I really like the acting in this film. Like I said, Eva, I wanted to get her name here again, Eva Renzi, who plays this woman, who I actually thought was very interesting. I watched the interview with her. She was initially considered to be a Bond girl. They wanted her a few years before this. I believe it was Thunderball was the movie, and they went up with another actress, and I wrote it down, but it's on my phone somewhere. I'll fucking find it right now. I believe they ended up going with, it was Karen Dior. It's Karen Dior, who was a German actress who played Helga Brandt in You Only Live Twice. I made a mental note of that, but I had to write it down too. that was initially going to be her. She was going to play that part, and she was going to be a Bond girl. And she said, I don't like this. I think you're over sexualizing me. I don't want to do it. So she was like 60 years ahead of her time with like the whole mentality. And she passed, and the producer called her a, piece of shit and all these things, horrible things. And then, of course, in turn, she turns around and works, in Rome with Dario Argento and plays a very vital part, which at first we think victim. And as this thing goes on, we learn that she's anything but, which is a very interesting part of this movie that I definitely want to get to. Let me get back to comments. I think we were here. Torso and the Twitch to the Death Nerve have strong arguments as well as Bird, but all three are masterpieces. I love all three of those movies. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome, man. I'm sorry. I see. When are you going to review Argento's Dracula? I did an episode about a year ago, called When Good Directors Go Bad. That was the name of the episode, where I took the 5, in my opinion, arguably greatest filmmakers in horror's history. I did Craven, Carpenter, Argento, Hooper, and Romero. And I did those 5 of them and their worst films. And it was a lot of fun. It was a very fun show of 5 like very fun, colorful rats. I wonder if the sets are deliberately painted with bright colors as they so pop out on the screen. Well, with this movie, it's definitely not there when you watch a Suspiria or an Inferno. He hadn't gotten to that stage yet where he was really trying to, imitate or carry the torch on from a Mario Bava. He wasn't playing as much with the color yet. Here there are some stylish scenes with the color, and same thing with the film with Cat o' Nine Tails. Definitely a good use of color, but here it's definitely not as colorful as he'd go on to be. It's one of those things he kind of just grew into. Let's see, we have Darren's in the house. Darren, I tried to click on his comment. Hey guys, great subject tonight, John. Bird, truly a masterpiece, and it's kind of the blue. It is. It really is. That's what I mean when I can compare it to Friday the 13th. It's the blueprint giallo. That's a great way to put it. And of course, we got the color of blue, all over this son of a bitch. But welcome, Darren. Hope all's well with you. Alpha Romero is here. Hey, man, been looking forward to this one. Alpha Romero is going to be doing a top 10 Romero heroes stream. That's coming up. I'm super looking forward to that. We were actually shooting the breeze earlier about Diary and Land of the Dead. I agree. Bird is the best made of the 3. Four Flies, just my personal favorite. I can hear that for sure. I think this one of the 3 is my favorite, though. People saying, hi, great giallo, big fan of Tony Musante too. I remember him from HBO's Oz. Cool to see him so young in 1970. Yeah, and he does a great job as a lead. I really like Tony Musante. And I will say this, I think this movie has a good sense of humor. Like in between all the horror sequences and scare sequences and beautiful music and things like that, dramatic elements, I do think that the film has really wonderful humor. I do think it's funny in scenes. Like there's a scene where they bring Tony Musante for the lineup and they're naming all these guys, and then one of the guys is a guy in drag, and they say Ursula Andress, and it's Ursula Andress. So I burst out laughing at that. I forgot that. I was like, Ursula Andress is the fucking guy in a dress and fucking heels. I burst out laughing. I was like, that's fucking funny. Like I definitely think that he has a nice sense of humor, a sprinkle of comic relief in here, which does add to it. I do think that works in the film. Having a great time tonight. Great to hear it, man. I got to watch those bad films directed by great directors, Video Grande. Yeah, that was a fun one. Oh boy, I'll have to remember and look into that. Yeah, no, that's 5 rants in one episode on my favorite filmmakers. So that's definitely a fun episode of Grande's Graveyard. There's also, for a first time out, there's so many interesting, unique things that Argento does with the camera. First and foremost, there's a great scene where there is someone who falls off a balcony, and I won't spoil who because I don't want to get into the ending quite yet, but there's someone who falls off a balcony, and Argento's idea was he literally wanted to throw the camera off the balcony so you'd see it hitting the pavement below. But of course, that will destroy the camera, that'll destroy the film, that'll destroy the take, Dario. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, fuck it. It's my first time. We'll figure out a way. So what they wanted to do was almost put the camera on a bungee, and then wanted to put it on a bungee and drop it down and then, cut when it would reach whatever, right before it hits the ground. Of course, they tried this once, failed miserably. The camera burst into a million pieces, and the insurance company had to pay for another camera. They had to shut down filming for a couple of days. Of course, they get the camera back. They shortened the bungee, and they did this sequence where the character is supposed to fall out of the balcony, and they did the camera falling all the way on a bungee. Bam, we quick cut, and the character's on the ground, and it works fantastic. I mean, it's really, really good filmmaking, in my opinion, using creativity to his advantage, right? Because this was a new up and comer and he tried something new. And yeah, he did break a camera in the process, but he ended up getting the shot as he wanted. There are some very interesting sequences where he and Susie Kendall are getting these threatening messages and he hears, this kind of squeaking in the background. And what the hell? What is that sound? What is that noise? What's going on in the background here? Which is obviously your clue, which all these movies, all three of these movies, where the animal comes in is basically where your clue is, right? Your clue to solving the mystery. In this film, you hear that squeaking in the background, and what that squeaking is this rare bird called Siberia, which is AKA known as the bird with the crystal plumage. And they hear that bird in the background, and of course that leads them ultimately to the killer. And I got to get into this because I really love the twist in this one the best. And spoiler alert, if you want to watch this, I believe it's on Tubi, I believe it's on Amazon Prime. You can watch this movie. I am going to get into some spoilers about the ending because the ending to me actually is my favorite part of this movie. I just love the twist here, where our lead character, he finds out that the bird, the apartment, that's right by where the bird is. He has to go in there. And once again, he finds Eva Renzi's character, and she's fighting with her husband. He's kind of like struggling with her, and she runs away, and he goes, he's mad. My husband's mad. And he's like, no. And the whole police force are there, and they're like, what's going on? Were you trying to kill your wife? And, I love her. I would never harm her. But he starts admitting to the murders. I killed these girls. I killed them. I did X, Y, and Z. And you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. And that's when you get the sequence where the guy falls out of the fucking balcony, crashes down I thought that was great. But we get another twist where our real killer is Eva Renzi. She, the woman who we thought was the opening victim, who survives this, brutality and almost killing, is our killer. And I thought that was a really cool twist because what Argento wanted to tap into was the horrors of the horrors of memory and the horrors of deceptive memory and the horrors of when we think we remember something in one way, but we can't quite put all of the clues and details together. And when we cannot do that, we falsely remember things. So of course, he thinks he saw a struggle between a woman and a man with black gloves and a raincoat. And of course, he had to be the one going at her, but it really wasn't like that. In fact, he was trying to protect himself. She was the one. She was the antagonist trying to kill him. But it was the horrors of deception and the dreams and visions that kept him up at night that made him feel, what am I not remembering right? What am I missing? Love that. The horrors of remembering something the incorrect way. Very interesting and very prominent in a lot of Argento films. Of course, Deep Red is a very similar, the lead character in that. He thinks he saw something at the initial scene that he can't quite put together. Very interesting. And the psychoanalysis of that was very interesting. Of course, you get the whole backstory that our lead, she was sexually assaulted 10 years prior. And, she was put in a mental institution because of that. And then, of course, she was out and she fell in love and got married and her life was on the right track. Of course, one day she's walking on the street and she sees a painting of a man brutally molesting a woman in the woods, in the cold, wintry woods. And it triggers her, of course, post-traumatic stress. And thus she doesn't identify with the victim like she was. She in turn identifies with the rapist, the molester, the antagonist, and thus starts to kill people. And her husband, on the other side of that coin, he loved her so much that he starts to commit and back the murders too, because what would you do to protect the woman you love? You would go right with it and start murdering too and covering up the murders, to the point of wearing the black glove and wearing the raincoat and wearing the hat and the whole 9 yards to try and fool everybody that it can't possibly be her when it actually is. I thought, what a great twist. What an interesting original twist to this movie. And to throw the psychoanalysis in there, to me, was just brilliant. I really like just thinking deeper into the killer's motivations. And I thought, of the reveals, this one's easily the best. I love the reveal of the killer here, Eva Renzi, as she pushes this giant art display on Tony Musante and jumps on top and starts smiling and laughing and taunting him. Great stuff. Of course, the police come, save the day in time, but I really think it's one of those movies that, as you leave the screen, you realize what you just watched was, not one of, but I mean, definitely one of the best directorial debuts that there ever was. I mean, to have this be your first film is quite something. I mean, it's really good all around. Like I said, acting's good, soundtrack's good. You know, the movie became a big financial smash. You know, it was made for about $500,000. It grossed way over $1 million in Italy, and then of course it got picked up by American distributions and stuff like that, and it became a big success all over the world. But it's very nice to see, you know, the upcoming of the maestro. In my opinion, you know, somebody who would go on for the next 50 plus years, who's still making movies. It just came out with Black Glasses recently. And it premiered in New York City. I was there. Just last summer. I mean, it was just a year ago where I was in the presence of the maestro, and it's so cool to see, you know, the beginnings where he came from. And this is one of those movies that I can't recommend enough. I think this edition from Arrow Video is absolutely tremendous. The HDR quality for a fucking 53-year-old film, it looks quite stunning. Cool little poster. Like I said, the booklet, I mean, always such a good job from our friends over at Arrow Video, my favorite horror Blu-ray company. Couldn't recommend this one enough. If you don't have it already, I highly recommend you pick up this edition, because this is really the way to watch it, in my humble opinion. But that is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Love this movie. Absolutely love this movie. And if I had to rate it, I would come in at like a 9. I think it's a fucking damn good movie. Just all around, really, really solid film. Let's see. People saying goodbye to Dirk. Where was I, though? I think we were here. Argento's early work had a lot of humor in it. Yeah, no, absolutely, it did. Hey, man, great energy, man. I got to go. We'll definitely check out the replay. And everyone, Razorblade, slash that like button. Take all, carry all. Well, thank you, Dirk. I appreciate you stopping by. I think Kubrick threw the camera towards the ground, which was the following year. That was 71. So I wonder, you know, did Kubrick somehow come across, of course, The Bird with Crystal Plumage when he did the same thing? I don't know. It's definitely something interesting, something to think about. And I enjoy all three, but I got to say my personal favorite is Four Flies, one of Argento's greatest endings, in my opinion. Well, we'll get there. That's 2 people now that said Four Flies is their favorite. That's another similarity between Bird and Deep Red. You see the killer right at the start, but good luck realizing that what you saw. Exactly. And that's something that I think everyone's gone through. Like, there's been things in my own life where I thought it happened one way, but it was really another. That's such an interesting to bring that to your film. Was so fucking cool and revolutionary to me. And Argento does that a lot over the next 50 years of the movies that he made. You know, you still see things that you saw this first directorial rookie outing, and it's just quite pleasant to see. I haven't seen the whole movie, but I remember the ending. Yeah, I think the ending is brilliant. I really do. I think Eva Renzi, her screen presence is beautiful. She's this beautiful redheaded woman. Susie Kendall, also a beautiful woman. There's a great sequence where the killer's trying to break in and she's trying to stop it. Really, really good stuff. There's a good chase sequence where this guy in a yellow rain jacket is chasing our leads. They think he might be the killer. There's definitely a lot of good red herrings in this and fun, kind of quirky characters. The guy at the art gallery who tells them about the painting, he's great. He's like, they killed her one day after she bought it. They killed this poor woman. You know, just great. It was a serial killer on the list. Yeah, you don't expect a smoking hot, sexy woman as a villain in a horror film. Exactly. And what's crazy is that she just years prior had refused a James Bond film. I don't want to be a Bond girl. It's this disgusting. It's degrading to me. And then turn around a couple years later, she's the antagonist in an Argento film where she's brutally murdering and fucking brutally like molesting women. And I don't understand why one would like, oh, and she buried it in the interview. When she got interviewed on this, she was like, oh, it was stupid. And it's the easiest acting I ever did, and it was just a job. And she buried the movie. She said that Argento, she was happy he went on to be a big success, but she thought at the time it was a joke. She was like, I didn't take it seriously enough, you know. And you would never know. I think the performance is really good, but that's what she said. Yeah, Grande, have you met Argento? I have not met Argento. What happened was he came to New York City last year for the big premiere of his movie Black or Dark Glasses. And they did a Dario Argento 20 film retrospective where they showed almost all of his films in 35 millimeter or 4K, I believe, where they showed, I think everything but Giallo from 2009. Every single one of his movies was shown on the big screen on 35 or on 4K restoration. I went to go see Phenomena and Opera in 4K, which is my third and fourth favorite Argento films, respectively. And then the Maestro came out and took questions. It was so cool to see him in person in New York City. And they had the Argento room, which I have posted. It's a short on the channel. You could see the Argento room of all the original one-sheet posters for Suspiria and The Bird with Crystal Plumage and Inferno and Phenomena, Tenebrae, all these wonderful films that Argento made. You could see it, and it was so cool. It was one of the coolest days ever I spent in New York City, watching Argento films on the big screen with Argento, in attendance. It was so cool. One of the coolest days of my life. For me, Plumage, it's better than Cat and Flies. I agree, personal opinion. Acting-wise, Cat, it's very, very solid. I think Plumage is the best of the three as well. It would be a 9 for me. Cooper Glover says Arrow is a good boutique label for Blu-rays. In my opinion, they're the best, easily the best. That's like people's actual memories themselves. Yeah, exactly. And put it in a film. And he made it the big theme in this, the horrors of deceptive memory. I have those 4Ks from Arrow for Bird and Cat, and that 4K for Four Flies on Severin. All are yeah, no, definitely. I could thank you for this one, because I would actually never owned this, and I would have definitely bit on that 4K, but for the longest I was like, I don't know what I want with this, and I ended up going with this because you were nice enough to send it to me, so thank you, Neil. Maybe she was desperate for the money. Definitely, it's possible. I don't know. Like, if you're too good to be a Bond girl, you're too good for this, too good for that. It just sounds like she was kind of like, come on, like, you're an actress. Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. Like, I don't see a big disgrace of being a Bond girl. I know there's some women that'll say, oh, it's over sexualizing and blah, 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 blah. I'm a serious actress. I get it, but it's not a disgrace to be there's a lot worse things than a Bond girl you could be. You could be a fucking Hooters girl. You could be a fucking girl at a strip club. They're a lot worse than being a Bond girl, getting paid dumb money to chill with Sean Connery. I don't know. In my opinion, there's a lot worse out there, but maybe it's just me. Damn, oh man, it was so cool. I took videos. They're short videos, and I don't know if you have an Instagram, but I took like pictures of the day when he came out on the stage, and he talked about Jennifer Connelly and Phenomena. Dude, seeing Phenomena, and Opera was great too. Don't get me wrong, I love fucking Opera, and the 4K of that when that comes out, I mean, the world would be a better place. But seeing Phenomena with a sold-out crowd packed to the fucking gills with Argento sitting right there was got to be a top 5 theater experience in my life. I mean, it was so fucking cool to finally see that movie with a big crowd on the big screen in 4K. It was the best experience I ever had watching that movie. And I think Phenomena is arguably, like, it's my number 3, just behind Suspiria and Deep Red. But Phenomena, I think, can be argued to be his best film. It's such a great movie. And I know he felt it was his best movie. Yeah, I was at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City, saw Scorsese interviewed, but couldn't approach the stage. That's freaking awesome. The shiny black raincoat and gloves and crystal pubes were borrowed from Baba's Blood and Black Lace. That's wild. Well, yeah, I mean, Bava is really the guy that Argento took the torch from, right? Like, you look at Bava's career, whether it be Black Sunday, whether it be Blood and Black Lace and Black Sabbath, and, even the year after this, he makes A Bay of Blood. Bava was arguably the best Italian filmmaker that ever lived. And, even more so than Mario's own son, Lamberto Bava, I think Dario took the torch from Mario and kind of just led us into the 1970s and 1980s. And, we had all of our wonderful, up-and-comers at the time too, and Sergio Martino, and of course, Umberto Lenzi, and of course, Ruggero Deodato, and of course, Lucio Fulci, and all these wonderful Italian filmmakers that were kind of coming up at the, right at the same time. But I feel like Argento was really the guy to lead that ship. And man, to take the torch from a Mario Bava and not just be a student from that school, but to take what he did and in some ways make it better. That's hard to do, but Argento does that. By the time you get to Suspiria, by the time you get to Inferno, which is the last movie that Bava even worked on, visually wise, there are a few movies better than those two. I have the Arrow Blu-ray of Plumage and Cat on 9, but I've yet to get that Four Flies release because Severin, LOL. We'll get into that. We'll get into Severin's overpricing of this 4K set. We'll get into it when we get to Four Flies because we got to address it. It's just a part of the fucking thing. That's incredible. What a great theater memory. Oh man, it was surreal. It was like when I walked out of the theater, I was like on cloud 9. I remember that walk back to the subway. I was on the streets of New York City, but in my head, I was in Rome. I was in, Milan. I was in Florence. I was in Naples. It was just, for a minute, it was almost like I was allowed to take a time machine to Italy. And there I was with the maestro. Really one of the coolest days of my life. Shiny Raincoat was later used 2 years in the film Don't Look Now, which had a very shocking plot twist. Of course, Alice Sweet Alice was the raincoat. Granted, that was a yellow raincoat in that movie. So, of course, it does felt the giallo. Don't forget Bruno Mattei. Yeah, who can forget Bruno Mattei in the Night of Living Rats with Bruno Mattei? Gotta love Bruno Mattei. I hear Severin has awful customer service. Well, we'll get to Severin. I am a supporter of Severin, and their big sale is this tonight at midnight. So that's going to be a big thing. But I don't know. For me, is what it is. Unfortunately, my friend, the torch is off. The giallo, it's dead and will never come back. Well, that's the thing, though, Matteo, is do we really want it to come back? Like, I said this too because he was premiering his new film that night, the Dark Glasses movie. And I've seen the movie. Is it anywhere near as good as these three movies I'm talking about tonight? No way. I mean, I know we have not gotten into Cat O' Nine yet, or we have not gotten into Four Flies yet, but it's not even close to being on the levels of these two movies. It's nice to see that Argento's still doing what he loves. It's nice to see. But it's a bygone era. I really believe that. I believe the giallo had its run, and so did the slasher movie 10 years later in America. The slasher movie had its run, and there's always windows for things. You have to try to catch things while the windows are open, so it goes through and people can experience them and enjoy them for what they are. Giallo, after a while, yeah, it did. It faded out. It did fade out. And not to say that Argento didn't make some great giallos after this, years after this. Hell, look at Sleepless. That's a great fucking giallo movie. I mean, fantastic. That was 31 years later, 31 years after this, he was still making fucking good giallo movies. So, who's to say? But at the same time, the peak of them, overabundance when they were coming out, it seemed like every few months there was a new giallo. That's really the time for it. It was the early 1970s, kind of moving into the mid 70s. But I mean, I love giallos for sure. Definitely some issues with Severin, but unfortunately, they're the only source of certain. Oh, dude, they're great. I overall like Severin. It's just this particular release, I have a little bit of heat with them. The Criterion Barnes & Noble's 50% off sale starts this Friday. Very cool. They usually do Arrows then too. Sorry for just digressing. Don't be sorry. Hey, man, I'm always down for hearing about Blu-ray sales. But, okay, that was, of course, the Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Let's move on into Dario's sophomorial effort. Of course, from the following year of 1971, this is The Cat of Nine Tails. Two journalists try to solve a series of murders connected to a pharmaceutical company's secret experiments, becoming targets of the killer themselves. Yes, The Cat o' Nine Tails. Now, this is where Argento started his collaboration with Luigi Cosi, who, of course, was a part of so many different Italian productions at this time. Luigi Cosi was, in a way, Dario's right-hand man. And what this film they came together and talked about was the plot. They wanted to really focus on the story, the plot. They wanted to have more, fleshed out characters, and they wanted the story to be kind of grand. Whereas the following film, he and Luigi Cosi, Argento said to him, hey, I want you to think of the murder sequences first, then we'll fill in the plot later. And that's what, so they did. It's funny. They did it kind of weird. Like this movie, they focused plot first, kills and everything second. And then this movie, it was kills first, plot and everything second. So it's very interesting how he and Luigi Cosi went about tackling this. Now, to most people, this is definitely a step down. This is a classic sophomorial slump. And it is a step down. And it is the weakest of these three movies. I would definitely say that. But that's not to say that it's still not an outstanding giallo on its own two legs, or its own four legs, if you will, when we're talking about a cat. I really do think this is a very solid giallo and film in the filmography of one Dario Argento. I really enjoy this movie too. And the first thing I do really enjoy a lot about this movie is the cast. Of course, you have James Franciscus, who plays Carlo Giordani. Of course, you have Carl Malden, a great American actor with a giant fucking nose. A lot of people remember him from On the Waterfront. He plays a blind man in this. Really, really cool character actor. Always cool to see him in movies. And to see him in an Argento film is very surreal, even though, it was so early on in Argento's workings here. Of course, he plays this blind man, and he, is taking care after his granddaughter, who they have a very fun, loving relationship. She calls him Cookie. She always calls him Cookie, and the two of them go out for walks and stuff like that. And one night they're going out for a walk, and they hear this person break into a building. And they're curious about it, but they end up walking away. And then basically that one break-in of this building, this pharmaceutical building, starts a chain reaction of all of these people getting murdered. People that, are trying to blackmail the person who broke in, they get pushed in front of a train, in a very interesting and unique murder sequence at the beginning of this. I thought that was a really cool, way to open up your film with a good murder train sequence. Which at the same time, I mean, it was very revolutionary how that's all shot. There's very interesting things that Argento does with quick cuts in this and editing, which is something that I never saw Argento really play with again, like he does in this film. This is a very interesting film when it comes to editing and quick cuts. For example, there's a scene where Carl Malden sees in the paper, oh, this person who was trying to blackmail the killer was pushed in front of a train. He looks and he sees perhaps what could be the hand of the killer. And, oh, is it cropped? Is it cropped? He calls the main detective and he says, oh, I don't think so. Why bother? He goes, just call the fucking guy that made the picture, the photographer. Ask him, was it cropped? And he calls, hey, was it cropped? Yes, it was. It was. Oh my God, I'll develop the whole thing. Maybe we'll be able to see the killer. Which is a very interesting thing. And while Carl Malden is thinking about that, this very interesting shot where it's on him and the little girl, and it's on him. He thinks about it. We see the detective. It's quick cut, and then they're just all in the room together. I was like, whoa, that's really fucking cool. Like, out of nowhere, it just like cuts to this room where he was thinking about it. Now they're in the room talking about it. I never saw Argento do that again, man. All the fucking films Argento made, he never played with editing or quick cuts like that again. I was very fucking refreshed to see that. I was like, wow, like very interesting. The true definition of experimental, which filmmakers tend to do their first 2 to 3 movies out. But very cool to see that experiment in there. I like that. And then we have this very interesting murder sequence of, again, this is another scene where we use a primary color in this scene. It's green, the green background where this guy is developing all of these photos. And then, of course, the red photo room. He's developing these and he gets strangled in the room. And it's a really, really good murder sequence. I think the issue for a lot of people with this movie is it's definitely not as gory. It's definitely not as loud, fast, or out of control as his films would go on to be after this. I mean, we went on to know, if you think Deep Red, if you think Tenebrae especially, or Phenomena, we think of these over-the-top, gory, violent death sequences. That's not really here. And I think that's the big thing that a lot of Argento fans come into this thinking they're going to get, and they really don't. This is a very toned-down movie. It's, a lot different in the Verne of Bird with the Crystal Plumage, where this is a lot more toned down. And it's very more standardized giallo, much more dramatic and mysterious, as opposed to, the guts and gore and, psychoanalysts and all this stuff. Like, it's definitely a little bit different of a movie, more of a paint by the numbers giallo, as opposed to a groundbreaking, innovative one like Bird with the Crystal Plumage was. And I think that's where a lot of people get turned off by. However, it is interesting to see Argento use all sorts of types of films and genres in one movie. There's a sequence where the lead detective and this girl that he likes, they're get into a car chase. And Argento, I know he was saying in the interview in this, he hated that scene. He hated doing it. It felt out of place in the film. I thought it was quite fun. It was fun. A car chase in an Argento film? Why the fuck not? I thought it was quite fun. Yeah, was it needed? No, definitely not. Does it ruin the pacing a little bit? Yeah. I mean, this movie has pacing problems. That is my only issue with it. It is too long. It has pacing issues out the wazoo. But again, some of the scenes in that, I mean, some of the humor sequences where there's an old couple trying to cross the road and the car chase goes and they take a step and almost get hit. And then they take another step and the car almost kills them. And the husband looked at the wife. They look at each other and they, fuck it, we're not going to cross the street. I thought that was funny. I was like, that got a laugh out of me for sure. I thought that sequence was really good. But let's go back to comments. Let's see what Mersey said. Cozy and Argento still alive and doing well too. That's awesome. Dude, absolutely, man. Gotta love Luigi. Cat O' Nine Tails. I almost forgot we were talking movies. My brain went to the whip thing that Kinky liked to use during. Oh my gosh. Well, geez, Miss C. I'll tell you why it's called Cat O' Nine Tails. Can we say that the acting of Carl Malden in Cat is above anyone in all 3 movies? I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Carl Malden, it was just great in this. And I love his relationship with not just the little girl. I do think they have a nice heartfelt relationship, but with the lead detective. I really like the two of their chemistry with one another. Because, of course, at first, he's a detective that thinks he knows better and he's going to solve this big bad case on his own. And, of course, Carl Malden, hey, just call the photographer, ask the photographer, please do this for me. And once he's right about that, he brings Carl Malden on kind of as like an assisting force. Like, hey, I take your opinion and I validate your opinion now. I value what you have to say. And I like the chemistry between the two to the point where I could have, had the whole thing focus on them two together and you could have even written the little girl out of it. I do wish that it had a focused lead. I kind of wish Carl Malden was the lead. Now, it seems that the detective is more of the lead than Carl Malden. We had Carl Malden sprinkled in enough. He's definitely a very big supporting character, but the lead is this detective guy who wasn't quite as interesting, in my opinion, as Tony Musante's character in the previous film, who's searching for the clues and stuff like that. James Francis, I might be botching his name. He's okay, but Carl Malden's character is a lot more interesting. Of course, you have Catherine Spack as the sort of love interest. You do see some wonderful Italian yiddies in this, which is great. And there's a great sequence with he and her after they make love. And, it's found out through a sideways of ways that the beverage they're about to drink, the milk, after they have sex has been poisoned. And it's a great kind of, slow building sequence as we're waiting for, oh my God, please don't drink the milk. If either one of them drinks the milk, they're dead. They're going to die of poisoning. That's a great scene, how Argento shoots that and how he puts the POV of the camera in between the two glasses of milk. We have glass of milk 1, glass of milk 2, and the camera goes right in between the tray as it's delivered to the beautiful, voluptuous, naked woman in bed. Just really, really good filmmaking, in my opinion. This one is way more experimental than Bird. And that's interesting because Bird was first, this was second, but it seemed here that he tried to do a lot more with technique and threw some things at the fan, and maybe not everything necessarily stuck, but I think it was well done enough, if you will. I apologize for all the comments, but Argento, it's my favorite. There's a scene in the cemetery in Cat. That scene has the best tension of all Argento movies. Well, I love that scene as well. I don't know if it's the best scene in all Argento movies. That's quite the statement, Mr. Appendino. But it is that's fucking great sequence. And don't be sorry, do comment all you want. I love Argento too. He's probably my favorite too. I can't. When I got to this movie and I watched the interview for this movie, the interview with Argento on this, I got emotional. I'm not gonna lie, I got emotional, and I really want to talk about something towards the end, when we get there. But dude, comment all you like. I love talking about Argento too. Yeah, I agree. The cemetery scene is wonderful. The atmosphere he's able to create. Now I will say this overall. The atmosphere here is definitely the weakest of the three. Like I think Bird and Four Flies have a great, tension and unsteadiness, uneasiness that kind of rides throughout those whole movies. This, you definitely have some scenes where you don't feel that. You definitely don't feel that. Morricone does return. The score here, definitely not as good as it is in Bird. Definitely not as good as it is in Four Flies. I'm not huge on the score here. I think the score is passable, but for Morricone, I expect a little bit more. It's just not the most memorable score. I don't know. It's just a little bit flat. Carl Malden is like Max von Sydow in Sleepless Strong, but secondary character. Exactly. He's not the lead of, yes, that's a very good way of putting it. And again, if Max von Sydow was the lead of Sleepless, I would think I would even like it even more. Granted, I still love Sleepless. But yeah, Carl Malden is definitely the side character here. But you had an interesting thing where the reason this is called Cat o' Nine Tails, which Miss C was having a dirty mind about, the reason there is no cat, there's no physical cat like there is in Bird with Crystal Plumage or the Four Flies and Gray Velvet. Here, the reason it's called Cat o' Nine Tails is because that's the amount of suspects that there are. Of course, it evolves around that pharmaceutical company that was broken into, and that there was somebody that tried to pull a file on the XYY syndrome, the XYY chromosome that's in there. And, it's revealed to have like some kind of, effect on making someone become a criminal, have criminal tendencies. And that is why there's 9, suspects, the 5 scientists, of course, Terzi's daughter, Bianca, the person who did the original break-in, all these people that are suspects, the Cat o' Nine Tails. There's 9 suspects, and who is the killer. which I thought was cool. Now, not that many of the suspects are really well fleshed out, even though this movie runs almost 2 hours. I think that's something I would have rather them play on. Like, tell me about each one of these people. Like make me sit in the room with you and play Clue. Like, who did it? Was it fucking Colonel Mustard with the fucking candlestick in the library, or was it Professor Plum in the fucking attic with the fucking candlestick up somebody's ass? I don't know. Like, it's very interesting, topic, of course, but I definitely think we could have gotten a more fleshed out version of all of these suspects. I think we could have got a little bit more of them. But that's just me. I definitely think in a 2 hour movie that at times does slow down pacing wise, it's definitely the slowest and most awkwardly paced, I guess. I think that would be the good word to use, awkward pacing. But again, there are still some really good sequences in this. Of course, there's a scene where this woman finds out who the killer is, and she has the identity of him in her locket. And then, of course, she gets strangled because she calls them and, hey, come over tomorrow. I'm going to tell you who it is. I know who it is. Of course, never a good idea to do. Just tell them who the fuck it is. But if they did that, we wouldn't have a movie, Grande. Fair enough. They, have her in her apartment. She gets killed and stalked and strangled. The killer's trying to find what she has about him, and he can't find it because it's in her locket. She hides it in her locket, which I thought was kind of cool, of course. And then, we lead up to the finale where the killer is revealed to be one of the scientists who, of course, stole this thing. And it's definitely kind of a weak reveal. It's not like the wow that the bird that the Crystal Plumage was. And it's definitely not as impactful as the following movie's reveal. But I do like the sequence of how it all kind of wraps up where he and Carl Malden get, within arm's reach of each other. And Carl Malden thinks that he has taken his a grandchild. He thinks that he's abducted her. And where is he? Where's the girl? And I killed her. Even though he didn't kill the girl. And Carl Malden pushes him through this fucking skylight. And this guy falls down this elevator shaft. And there's great special effect of the guy trying to slow himself down, grabbing the wires. And you see all this smoke pop up with the guy's hands from the fucking burning of holding these cables. And the guy smacks down in the elevator. And then we see Carl Malden looking on, the police looking on, and we hear Cookie. We hear the little girl in the background. Oh my God, like he didn't really kill her. Like, what the fuck? I liked that. I thought that whole sequence at the end was really well done. It's one of those movies that it's ambitious. It really is. It's, in a way, it's the most ambitious of the three, but it's one of those movies where it definitely doesn't stick the landing as a cat would, if you will, to play on those words. But I don't know. I'm mixed on this one. It's good. It's passable. I know for a weird way, Argento has stated that this is his least favorite of all of his works. Argento said that this is the worst movie he ever directed, which is very interesting to me. From a guy that directed The Phantom of the Opera, from a guy that directed Do You Like Hitchcock, from a guy that directed Giallo, from a guy that directed Dracula 3 fucking D, from a guy that directed Dark Glasses, which granted, isn't horrible, but it's a lot fucking inferior than this movie. So, I mean, it is what it is, but Argento said that he felt that this was the weakest movie he ever made, which is very interesting to me. I don't know. It's very, kind of attention grabbing, if you will. But it's also one of those things where this movie got the best distribution of the three. Like, this has definitely been the one that's most available in the United States. Four Flies never, until this 4K release, got a very good, Region 1 release. Of course, there was always that Mondo Macabre Blue. There were a lot of bootleg DVDs and VHSs over the years. But this one of the three definitely got the best distribution. But, on the same front, I do think it's slightly the weakest. It's not a bad movie. It's just a little bit weaker than the rest, in my opinion. Let's see. What's up? What up? Who's ass? What version of Clue did you play, you savage? If you know, Grady, there's a severance sale from Yeah, I was just mentioning that. That's tonight at midnight. I'm not accusing Argento or anything, but some movies do push and cross the line into softcore porn. Well, this movie has some naked woman in it, but it's definitely not bad. I mean, and then this movie has a love scene in a bathtub that's very heavily edited. So, I mean, I don't know. I would think, there's a lot of Italian filmmakers that would go more square that. I mean, Lindsay for sure. Lindsay's definitely more sleazy than Argento. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't say that for Dario. There's sex scenes in some of his films, but I wouldn't say soft porn. So your take on this fantasy genome sci-fi-ish, do you like it or meh? Okay. I know you'd asked that in the intro. Interesting. Again, another thing that Argento He threw it the fan, but he didn't use it much afterwards. I think for me, a similar formation of that was used down the road when he does movies like Phenomena. Like, I think the fantastical element of his movies that was perfected around when he does, if you watch Suspiria, if you watch Phenomena, that fantastical element, that almost action adventure element that he brings to some of his movies, that I think is perfected in Phenomena. I think it's much better there than it is here. That sci-fi-ish fantasy element. If the fantasy wise, I think Phenomena is the best for that. I mean, it's just such a, Jennifer Connelly at the time had done movies that were fantasy, like not Pan's Labyrinth. Was it Pan's Labyrinth? No, it wasn't fucking. It was just Labyrinth, not Pan's Labyrinth. Fucking Labyrinth with fucking David Bowie. She does Labyrinth the year before, then she does Phenomena. To me, those movies sort of go together because they're both fantastical and mythical and kind of grand films. I like that version, that kind of version of a sci-fi fantasy, genome than it is here. It's okay here, but it's not just that. I mean, there are way more dramatic elements here. They are definitely the same sense of humor. There are, different elements. It's like he tried to blend a lot of genres into one in here. Definitely the lightest on horror of these three. So, I mean, it's interesting. The falling out of the elevator makes me think of James Bond film A View to Kill, and Michael Douglas goes through the glass ceiling to stunt pad, and David Fincher's The Game. You made me think of that, Grande. Very cool. Sorry, Grande. I didn't hear that you mentioned that. Don't be sorry at all. Maybe you played the 1 = 1 = 1 = 1. No. Labyrinth by Jim Henson. There you go. David Bowie is The Goblin King. Yeah, absolutely. I like Sleepless more than Cat o' Nine Tails. I do too. I do think, like, for what it's worth, this is a passable giallo. Like, I would say it's like a 6.5 out of 10. But like, I think the reason that a lot of Argento fans kind of turn away at this one is because it's Argento watered down. It's Argento a lot more standard. It's Argento with the gloves on. And it's still a good, passable, serviceable giallo. But it's definitely a step down. It's a sophomoric slump from Bird, in my opinion. It is. It's not bad. It's good. It's passable. It's above average. I'd give it a 6.5. I just think, for what we go to see Argento cinema for, it's not necessarily this movie. It's still good. It's still passable. I still recommend it. I think this Blu-ray looks fantastic. Blue Underground does a great job. I'm curious. I've heard the 4K transfer of the three of these movies looks the best. So sure enough, I have the fucking Blu-ray, which again, brother Neil, thank you for this. This is awesome. But that is what it is. I mean, I definitely want to, upgrade maybe someday, but for now I'm very cool with the Blu-ray because I do think this is an awesome movie. Mernsey says the train kill is great. Yeah, I mentioned that. The train kill is fantastic. Love that train kill right towards the beginning of the film. I really like that. I mentioned that at the beginning. Cat o' Nine Tails is like a disappointing 6 out of 10. It's quite decent, but The Bird and Four Flies, Grey Velvet are even better. I would agree. I think those two are definitely better. It's funny when a 6 out of 10 becomes disappointment. You have a great filmmaker because that's the standard that the maestro is held to, where 6 out of 10 is looked at as a disappointment, even though I think he's made worse movies way worse movies. Like, for him to come out and say that is wild to me. Like, how in what world is Phantom of the Opera better than this movie? In what fucking world is Giallo or Dracula 3D better than this movie? In what world is Do You Like Hitchcock better than this movie? Like, no. Honestly, I like this more than Inferno. Inferno visually is his most stunning film, but it's the one where I would say the plot does kind of hurt it. Like, the not making sense and the lack of logic, it hurts that movie more than any other Argento, in my opinion, is Inferno. It's visually, it's gorgeous, but I actually like this better. I would put this over an Inferno. I know I'm crazy, but I definitely would watch this over Inferno. So, even Inferno, I would say, which it is what it is. I don't know. I definitely think the movie gets unnecessary hate. I do. The biggest problem it has is pacing. It desperately needed to be cut down a little bit. It's almost 2 hours, runs a little bit too fucking long. Yeah, I can agree with that, Aiden, for sure. I really like Cat. Sure, it's toned down, but that was how most giallo films of that time were. Exactly. It kind of like Argento saying he can make a normal giallo too. Definitely. I also would say this, man, like if you look at all the giallos that were being made at the time, it's a very good point. Yeah, definitely in that vein. If you there's certain parts of this where you go, okay, that's Argento, but there's, like I said, that quick editing, those quick cuts. That doesn't remind. There's no other Argento film that I fucking have seen, and I've seen all of them except the 5 days. I fucking have never seen him use that editing technique again. That quick cutting. I was like, wow, like Argento? Like, will the real Argento please stand up? Because I didn't see that coming. It is what it is. I don't know. I just there are definitely some things in this that aren't him that I think, people are let down by. It's a really weird, entry into his filmography. But in my opinion, it's a damn good one. Like, if this is your black sheep, you're fucking master, because it's still a damn good movie. And it makes me wonder, Neil. Imagine if this was anybody else. Imagine if this was, I don't want to see. I'm throwing out so many fucking names tonight. Just to say this was made by another up and coming Italian filmmaker at the time. There's so many that I mentioned before. Let's say it was made by them. Would this be regarded in a higher light? Would this be one of those movies that people bring up, like, House with the Laughing Windows, which I know Matteo loves? That's a very underrated giallo. Would it be brought up with, The Psychic and all these movies they're kind of underrated giallos, not talked about as much? Would it be talked about a little bit more if it wasn't in Argento? If this was just some up and comer that had only directed one thing and it was this, would this movie be a cult movie, or would it have gotten lost in the shuffle, lost in the cracks? It's a curious question that I'd actually really like to know the answer to, because I do think in ways it would be higher positively received. Just in comparison to the trilogy, yeah, it is the weak link. It is. But that's not to mean it's bad. It's just kind of one of those things. Oh, I think there's a Vinegar Syndrome sale coming to in July. It actually just happened. Sorry to derail the conversation, Brian. I just see we have movie lovers here. Dude, talk about whatever you want. It is a chat open. Cat better than the card player hands. The card player. I had the fucking Blu-ray of that. I will fucking say, I actually have a fucking love for that movie. Like, as weird as it is, one of the weirdest Argento films. Like, the whole finale where they're playing poker strapped and handcuffed to the fucking train tracks. I burst out laughing. Like, I actually like that movie. For some reason, I really like The Card Player. Like, it's a guilty pleasure. It's the most guilty pleasure Argento film for me. Like bar none. Yeah, I couldn't get into The Card Player, but I'd like to see it again. It's going to be celebrating its 20th anniversary, I believe. But man, the fucking Card Player, bro. Oh my God, that just makes me laugh. One of these days, I've got to fucking review The Card Player. That not to mention, that Blu-ray is great. That Scorpion releasing Blu-ray is fucking great. Or it might have been Kino. I fucking forget. It's over there. I maybe at the end I'll grab it. Can someone let me know, was it Scorpion releasing or Kino that put out the fucking Card Player Blu-ray? I think it was fucking Scorpion, but I don't remember. Phantom of the Opera and Dracula 3D, I can't defend at all. Entertaining for the wrong reason. So anybody, like, the fact that he said that this movie's worse than those movies is crazy to me. I think he's on crack. Yeah, The Card Player is incredibly. It is fucking. It's like, it's the most CSI that Argento ever got. Like, it's fucking CSI if it was directed by Dario Argento, involving a fucking virtual card player. Like, oh my God, that movie is hysterical. And it was supposed to be a sequel to Stenhall. Azia's character of Anamani was supposed to come back in The Card Player and be the lead. Thank fucking God they didn't do that, because it would have fucking ruined The Card Player. Like, it would have ruined Stenhall for me, man. But like, The Card Player is one of those like guilty pleasure movies. It's bad, but it's funny. But I'll watch that over Phantom of the Opera. I think has got to be up there with the worst. It's Phantom, Dracula, or Giallo. And I think now Argento will probably tell you Giallo, because of all the 20 movies they filmed or are they screened at that Argento, like, retrospective, the whole festival they did where they flew him in from Italy to New York. That was the only Argento film they didn't screen was that movie. They fucking screened the Card Player film in 4K was screened in that theater, but not Giallo with Adrian Brody. So go figure. The Praying Mantis is so bad. Oh my God, that's right. And Luciano Tavoli, he came back to do the cinematography. Card Player finale is truly entertaining, but puts a goofy smile. Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm the same. Like I'm laughing at it and with it, but I don't know. It's just odd. It's just it was Scorpion releasing. Okay, that Blu-ray, amazing. Like, it's a better Blu-ray than that movie deserves. My blue for the carp. Okay, thank you. Thank you both. I have it too. It's over there, but I don't want to get up. I really love the musical score in the car, but that's the fucking music. It's fucking weird. The audience must have left the theater when Dracula, they fucking showed it. I shit you not, in 3D. And I fucking can't even believe that they showed that movie in 3D. Apparently, it was a 1:00 screening, so they didn't expect people to come. I didn't make it. I could, and maybe at the end, I could pull up if I could find the old schedule of it. But yeah, that fucking film. They did the three mothers in a day. They did Suspiria, Inferno, Mother of Tears all in a row. I couldn't get off work. It was like a Monday morning, and I couldn't get off work for it. If I could have, I would have been there in a heartbeat to see those three movies in a row on 4K. Granted, Inferno was 35 millimeter. They have yet to restore Inferno in 4K. I don't know what they're waiting for, because of all his movies, that's the one you've got to release in 4K, because visually it's the best. Maybe not overall the best, but it's visually the best. I love Argento. I saw Dracula in the theater. No fucking way. Did you see it in 3D? That's the real question. But I'm sorry, all the sidetracking. I'm sorry. I don't want to fucking miss Mernzy's comment. Mother of Tears looks interesting. That's on my list. Mernzy. I got to tell you something right now. I think it's his most underrated movie, and it's in my top 6 Argentos. It is. I know I'm alone in that. I know maybe Aiden would agree with me, but I think Mother of Tears is the last great Dario Argento movie. I really believe that. A lot say Sleepless, and I love Sleepless, but Mother of Tears fucking blew me away. I do believe it's the last great Dario Argento movie, and it's like, in my opinion, one of the most underrated movies from a master of horror. I never, ever, ever, ever will get the hate for that movie. I never forget the first watch I had of that movie, and when it ended, I felt like I was like a kid again. It was just the best. I was like, wow. And I would have killed somebody to get the day off of work to see that in the theater, back to back with Suspiria, Inferno, Mother of Tears. They did it on a Monday afternoon. It was Monday, 1:00, 4:00, 7:00. They did the 3 movies right in a row. I always fucking loved it though. I really don't. I think the main issue with people, and this is completely, we just got off on an Argento before. I promise you we will get the 4 Flies on Gray Velvet, but this is what the graveyard is for sometimes. I think what happened was the people didn't like that he went away from the same style and the color usage of Suspiria and Inferno. It visually doesn't look like those films, but to say that he doesn't bring a unique flair to that film is absurd to me. I think there's some really wonderful shots in Mother of Tears that people just completely overlooked, and we have yet to get a good Region 1 edition Blu-ray of that movie. I have the unrated Dimension Extreme DVD of it. That's the only fucking Region 1 edition that has been released unrated, obviously. We need a 4K of that with features, preferably from Arrow. If Arrow releases Mother of Tears in fucking 4K, I'm going to fucking do a cartwheel. And I can't do a cartwheel. I'll fucking end up killing somebody or breaking my leg. One or the other, but it'll be worth it, because Mother of Tears is fucking great. I will defend that movie to my grave. I love that fucking movie. But I'm sure a lot of people will be like, Grande, what were you smoking that day? I don't smoke, so there you go. 3D? You fucking saw Dracula 3D in 3D? No fucking way. That's hysterical. The 3 mothers back to back. Oh my God. Mateo, I would have lost my job if I took that day off, but I should have done it. I should have just said, fuck it. I'm not coming to work today. But I did get to, instead I saw Phenomena and Opera in the theater, which was, just as fucking cool. If not cooler, to be honest. Granted, Suspiria 4K in the theater would have been sick. Here for the Domingo Hermen chat. Congratulations. And Pats, Yankees pitcher threw a perfect game last night. Good for you. My Mets are fucking currently hanging themselves. Me and you are the biggest defenders of Mother of Tears. That's right. You're the only other motherfucker I know that likes Mother of Tears like I do. And for whatever reason, a lot of people they're always like, oh, that's the bottom 5 worst. I'm like, how, in what world is that a bad movie? I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Mother of Tears is brutal, like terrifying levels of gore. Dude, yeah. And the thing is, there's a rated DVD that cuts almost all of that gore out. So the only edition to get is the unrated edition. Don't watch the rated edition. It takes all the gore of the film out. I love it, man. Like, it has some amazing fucking sequences in it. I always loved like I always say this, the finale, like right before the finale kicks off, where Azia is walking on the side street and she sees this big black gate and this big blue house. Not Bear in the Big Blue House, but a big blue, like Victorian mansion in front of her. And like for a minute there, it's like a time machine back into the 1970s. Like for a minute, you're back and it's fucking, it feels like you're watching Suspiria for that once. He recaptured the glory days in that one scene before she enters the fucking final act of terror on Aja's face. Great stuff, man. Tears has grown on me. I'm glad to hear that, man. I fucking love that movie. Didn't realize Tears was 2007. Always thought it was 80s, 70s for some reason. Well, the thing is, Suspiria and Inferno were 3 years apart, 77 and 80, and he planned to make the third of the Three Mothers trilogy after that, but Inferno was negatively received. Argento did not like Inferno, and thus he went back to the well and makes Tenebrae. In similar ways to after the 5 days fails, he goes back to the well to the giallo and makes Tenebrae, which is a top 5 Argento movie and one of the best giallos ever made. Probably the best giallo of the 1980s, I would say, is Tenebrae. That's why you don't get Mother of Tears till 2007, which is crazy. But or Mernsey was making this comment, not Mateo. I'm sorry. And it has some old school Argento humor in it. I think it had everything in it. I don't know. Sure you will, Grande. The scene with the iron rod down under gets me every freaking time. Oh my God, yes. Oh, dude, exactly. Greetings to the chat. Mother of Tears does need an upgrade, and that was the first thing I thought of when we brought this up. Dude, man, yeah, I would kill for that. There are very few Argento films that I just flat out don't like. You just have to submit yourself to Argento's unique and sometimes silly cinematic universe. I agree with that. I haven't seen Mother of Tears in ages, so I can't tell you if I like it or not, and I don't own it, so I can't watch it anytime soon. Well, I think you have a Region Free player. There is a Region 2 Blue. Only thing is, Neil, I don't know if it's the unrated cut or not. I have the unrated DVD, and that's the way to watch the film. Granted, I would like to fucking see the film in HD, but watch it unrated. Like, if there's a way to watch it, you need to watch the unrated cut, because the rated cut of it cuts the balls of the movie off. Have to revisit the trilogy. Well, I highly recommend you do. Love Inferno, it's always overlooked. I would say, people fucking think I'm crazy for this. I always like Mother of Tears more than Inferno. Inferno visually is his best movie. But the rest of it, it's like, what is going on in this motherfucker? Like, it is the most incoherent of all his movies. So, I mean, it is what it is. I still love Inferno, but it's just incoherent as fuck. And it does get in the way for me. Shit, maybe I saw the cut version of Mother of Tears because I don't remember it being gory. Yep, you saw the cut version because it's a fucking gory fucking film. Always being overlooked. Okay, I understand. Let me get into Four Flies of Grey Velvet, though. I'm enjoying this chat. We could do this chat all night. But I do want to get to the last of the Three Mothers trilogy. The Three Animals trilogy, of course, which came out the same year as 1971 after Cat o' Nine Tails, which was a big success. It made 2.4 billion Italian lira. I think Italian lira it is. And it was a big hit. Cat o' Nine Tails was a big hit. Thus, he decided to make the third and what was supposed to be at the time his final giallo, which is very funny to think about now because Dario Argento has made more gialli than John Ford made westerns. I mean, that's how many gialli Dario Argento directed. So at the time, this was supposed to be the third and final gialli film. And then, of course, The 5 Days comes out, bombs because he tried to make a comedy. And then, of course, he went back to the well with Deep Red, which like launch padded the golden era of his career from 75 to like 87 was the best of Argento's career. I would say from Deep Red to Opera, it's the greatest 12-year run any director ever had. I really believe that. But this movie was supposed to be the end. This movie was supposed to be his last giallo. And man, if it was, he would have went out with a fucking bang. This is Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Yes, Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Of course, a musician is stalked by an unknown homicidal maniac who blackmails him for the accidental killing of another stalker. Yes, Four Flies on Grey Velvet. Of course, this amazing 4K Ultra HD dish from Severin. If you did not get in on that fucking Severin sale, you know, you have to drop about $150 for this son of a bitch now. Or if you see them at a convention, Alfa Romero can confirm this with me, about $90 to $100. I forget. I think it was $90 that you told me, which is a disgrace. I'll briefly have to bury Severin for this because it was fucked up. Severin did a sale where this was the new release. And on the sale, they said after these 4 days, not the 5 days of Argento, but 4 days, that this will no longer be sold by Severin. So when this got dropped, I bought it for about 55 bones. That's how much this cost. And to date, it is the most I've ever spent on a single edition 4K. $55 is the most I ever spent on something. So that's wild. But after those 4 days, they didn't sell out. And what they've been doing is at conventions, they've been selling them on tables for about $90 to $100. I believe it was not, I forget what the exact fucking cost was from Alpha Romero. Maybe he remembers. I think it was, he told me 90. Which if I was at the table when I heard that, I would have power bombed the fucking Sever and got through the table. He would have been fucking jackknife power bombed through the fucking, if I was there and heard that. But I'm glad I was there and I talked to the guy, but I didn't see the price tag on it. Alpha told me about the price tag. I said, "You son of a bitches. And Alpha was smoking outside. He started fucking cracking up and coughing. But, with that said, it was promoted as it was going to be this big box. It's just really a standard 4K and with a nice slip. I like the slip, but it was promoted like it was going to be a big, like an Arrow box. Like it was going to be a fucking nice box with a poster and all these things. And it didn't really come with that. It does come with 4 discs. You do get this, the little pamphlet here. Of course, the 4K disc. You do get the Blu-ray disc with features, interview with Argento, Luigi Cosi, respectively, which was awesome. You have a 3rd disc of features, which I still have not delved into. I didn't get a chance to in show prep. I watched disc 2, all of disc 2. And then you do get the CD soundtrack of the Ennio Morricone that you can play in your car, which maybe I'll do it on the way to work tomorrow. But it is a nice addition, but it's bullshit that they said only during the sale, and then now they're selling at conventions for absurd prices, and people are selling it on the internet for dumb money. I don't like that Severin did this. I think it was kind of gross, and I think they thought they'd sell out. And when they didn't, the egg was on their fucking faces. So, I mean, it is what it is. But let me get to the chat because I'm sure some people have some things to say about this whole thing. I love Inferno almost as much as Suspiria. Okay, wow, that's interesting. What? We're talking Argento and got off on a tangent. Surely not. Well, yeah, I'll talk Argento fucking till the dawn. I mean, argue my favorite. I didn't get it since I wasn't willing to play 4,000 on Greyville. Dude, that's amazing. Yeah, dude, I don't blame you. I feel fucking stupid. I really feel fucking stupid. Like, granted, it's a very nice addition. The fucking transfer's great. It's great, but it was way overpriced. Like you, in my opinion, 30, 35 tops. Instead, 55 tops. If you ask Mernsey, who's a Canadian guy, I believe that motherfucker spent like crazy money just to have it shipped. If Mernsey, if you're still here, what did you fucking spend total? Okay. So you commented. Okay, I'll get to that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go right down the line. See, sometimes the comments, if I go too long, they fucking go all the way to the top, so I have to fucking read so I don't see. But I see Mernsey commented, and I'm thinking he's talking about this. The shot from the inside of the guitar in the opening sequence is one of my all-time favorite shots. Oh, dude, it's incredible. That's like David Fincher when he made Curious Case of Benjamin Button. He was trying to show he can make heartwarming sale, but Fincher's strength is in making dark films. Sure, definitely. Hell, wasn't much cheaper buying directly from Severin. Yeah, and I did. I bought it directly from Severin and paid 55 bones. I mean, that's a lot of fucking money. I like Benjamin Button more than Alien 3, but yeah, David Fincher's films are a lot better. Yeah, it was $80 for Mernsey. That is absurd. For me, when it first came out, happy to have it in the library, but pretty fucking steep. Yeah, honestly, that's fucking crazy. Like, to me, that's absurd to ask of somebody to drop $80 for one 4K. That's, if it's a bundle, if it's a box set, if it was the trilogy, like let's say you got all 3 films in a trilogy, like a pack, that, okay, I could see $80 for one fucking 4K. That's a lot of money. Granted, it's nice, but fuck me, that's a lot of money. Talking about being captive audience at a sci-fi or horror convention where they jack up the prices. Yeah, definitely, man. That's the truth. I was looking at it, and the guy was like, yeah, these are all we have left. I asked how much, and he said $90. No shit, dude. Yeah, exactly, dude. This fucking piece of shit guy trying to sell fucking Alpha fucking $90. That's insane. It's not worth 55, let alone 90. Am I the only one that gets very distracted by all the prog rock music in the movie? Bud Spencer, Friend, Living by the River. It's a very famous Italian actor. Oh my God, he's great. He plays Godfrey, or as they call him, God, in the movie. I love him. I'm going to get into the movie. I'm sorry. I had to talk about the Severin thing. Like the Alien 3. Okay. I got the Four Flies Blue from Shameless video as well. I mean, if I had that, I would have probably stuck with that, but I never owned the movie. So that's probably why I dipped. Four Flies is my favorite of the three mentioned tonight. The score, once again, by Neo is just electric. Love that Mask of the Killer too. So, okay. Interesting thing about the score in this movie. Now, Argento initially was approached by Deep Purple, and Deep Purple was a huge fan of Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and Argento said, hey, would you mind doing the score of my next movie, Four Flies in Grey Velvet? I want you to do the score. I love Deep Purple. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the band myself. I love Hush. That's probably my favorite Deep Purple song. Like, just amazing fucking song. Love Hush. He wanted them to do the score. And of course, Ennio Morricone and Argento were collaborating in the two previous movies. Deep Purple turned him down because they had to go on a 2-year tour at the time. So he turned back to Morricone. Unfortunately, they had a lot of arguments on the making of this movie, and Argento would not work with Morricone again for almost, I believe, 25 years. It was 24 years later where Morricone finally came back with Argento when they made Stendhal Syndrome starring the voluptuous Asia Argento. That's the next time they would collaborate, 24 years later. That's how bad this fight was that they had on the set of this movie. That it took 24 years for them to come back and meet at the other end of the tunnel. So very interesting, kind of story there, which I think the score here is great. It's a lot better than the fucking, it's a lot better than the score for Cat O' Nine. It's the boo, 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 boo. And, integrated with all this prog rock that Matteo was mentioning with the, the opening drum solo and stuff like that. I love the music in this movie, and I couldn't imagine it without Morricone's score. And I think, as cool as it would have been to see Deep Purple, do the score of a Argento movie, I would have definitely preferred that down the road, maybe when he was doing Inferno or something like that, as opposed to Keith Emerson of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But I think Morricone's score is much better here than it is in Cat O' Nine. I love that. That's the first thing right off the bat. But I really enjoy how this movie opens. This movie opens, of course, with our lead, who's played by Michael Brandon, who I know I've read a lot of reviews for this movie and show prep. A lot of people said he was bad in the film. I don't think so at all. I thought he was fine as the lead in this. He's just not as maybe proactive as Tony Musante is. Like, he's definitely not trying to solve the case as much as the other Argento leads in this trilogy. He's just kind of trying to survive type of thing. So I mean, that is what it is. But Michael Brandon, he's walking the streets, and this is this guy that's been stalking him. And he tracks the guy down, and he thinks that he accidentally kills the guy. And then fucking all of a sudden there's this figure, which we see on this slip cover here, this figure of this guy taking pictures of him. And he's taking pictures of him and is maybe going to blackmail him for the killing of this person, even though it was accidental. And then, of course, he starts getting these threatening calls and these threatening, encounters, and it's scaring him and it's scaring his wife. And, people around him start to die, get picked off one by one in Four Flies in Grey Velvet. Now, this was interesting because, like I was saying before, he got with Luigi Cosi and he said to Luigi, hey, start thinking of murder sequences. I want to base this one more around the murder sequences as opposed to the plot and the story and all of these things like Cat O' Nine. Cat O' Nine is very focused on that. This one very much more on scare sequences. And I think of the three, this one has the best scare sequences. And I think that's why a lot of people in the chat tonight are saying that this is their favorite of the three, because horror-wise, it has the best horror in any of these movies. Perfect example, the sequence in the park. I know Matteo was saying before the sequence in the cemetery in Cat O' Nine. That's great. The sequence in the park of this movie, of these three movies, is my favorite sequence. It is fucking great. As this woman knows who the killer is, and she says, no funny business. You're going to meet me in the park at day, and we're going to fucking settle this. And more blackmailing thing. There's blackmailing like all these movies. This woman sits in the park, and I love how Argento presents the park. It's happy, pretty, fantastic, kids playing, and sunshine and rainbows and all the sunshine. As the scene goes on, we notice it's going from night to day. I mean, from day to night, and it's getting darker and darker and darker as now the woman is sitting in the park by herself, and she's looking at, all right, the person never came. I'm going to have to go and expose her. She starts to walk, and I love how Argento follows her with the camera through the bushels of the, small trees and bushes of this park. fantastic. And she starts to scream for help. There's someone in here trying to kill me, banging on the bricks and stuff like that. That murder sequence, that's what makes Dario Argento one of the greats, man. I mean, just fucking incredible sequence there. I love that sequence. And there's a few other, and I will get into them. But that one in particular just stands out so fucking brightly. Of course, like Matteo said, you do get introduced to the Godfrey character who, tells Michael Brandon what he thinks he should be done. He's trying to give him, advice as to what to do, played by Bud Spencer, who's really, really good in this. He tells him, hire a private investigator and hire a detective and see if he could maybe solve it for you. Anything to protect yourself. Of course, the detective in this is this very flamboyant gay detective played by Jean-Pierre Marelli, who he does a really good job in this as well. I really like him as this kind of gay detective who has tried to solve 84 separate cases and has failed at all of them. He's never solved the case, and he feels, hey, maybe this will be my lucky chance. Maybe I'll get this case right. I liked that. I liked that whole kind of character. There is a very beautiful actress in this film, of course, played by, I want to get her name right, Francine Rassete, who plays Dahlia in the film, who was just gorgeous. And they have a very interesting love scene where her and the lead, he cheats on his wife with this woman who is actually the cousin of his wife. He has sex with her in a bathtub in a very cut. Actually, you know what? I've mentioned the quick cuts before. There are some quick cuts in that bathtub scene. Now that I think of it, which still very sexy, steamy scene. Argento even admitted in the interview in this that he would have liked to have had sex with he would have liked to get it on with Francine. He thought that she was a beautiful woman. And he said that in a lot of ways, this movie was actually a big proponent in his marriage at the time ending, his first marriage, because he saw the premiere with his wife, and his wife after the premiere said, "You hate me, don't you?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "Well, the way you depicted the wife in that movie, you must really fucking hate me." And we'll get there, but I think that's crazy. This movie in a way kind of ended Argento's first marriage. Like, his wife was fucking pissed. Like, "You fucking son of a bitch. Is that crazy bitch in the movie supposed to be me?" Like, "Oh, no. They're like a Francine Rassete, Dalia, Dalio and Daria." I thought that was really funny. I was like, oh my God, like, what are the odds of that shit, man? Really crazy. But again, there are some really nice, like I said, murder sequences in this. There's a really cool one where the detective, he's getting closer and closer to figuring out his first case, solving his first case. And he thinks he's cornered the killer at this kind of bathroom subway station. And he goes in there and he goes in there and he's like trying to figure out, oh my God, as I'm saying this, there's a fly on this. Holy shit. There is a fly on my screen right now. This is crazy. I'm going to kill this son of a bitch. Hold on. Boom. Killed this son of a bitch. I don't want to pick him up, but I just killed a fly. I swear to you, I killed a fly on my fucking laptop. That's fucking crazy. Weird. I just killed the fly while reviewing Four Flies on Grey Velvet. You can't make this shit up. With that said, the murder sequence in the bathroom, very well done. I like how that's done. And I like that guy solved it and died knowing that he solved it. Like, God damn it, I solved it. He gets bashed in the fucking head a few times. Really cool. There, to me, another great one is the scene where, of course, like I said, Francine Rassete character, she gets killed off. And it's really good as she's looking at all these photos. She's looking at all these photos, and one of them she realizes who the killer is. She's like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, the killer comes about, and she hides in the closet, and she's watching through this very cool little peephole in the closet. And I love how Argento shoots the light as she's looking through the small crack in the door. She's kind of looking around, and she thinks the coast is clear. She goes out, turns, and just gets whacked in the head and kind of tumbles down the steps. It's a really good murder sequence as well. And we get this very interesting idea of that, Argento, of course, just kind of throws in there where if you analyze someone's eye, you could see the last thing they saw before that they were killed. And that's why they decide, hey, let's take her eye, and they examine it. And it appears to be four flies in gray velvet. It looks like four flies with a gray background swinging across. And they say, what does that mean to you? Does it mean anything to you? Does that ring any bell? And he says, no, it doesn't. So that's where you get the title of Four Flies in Gray Velvet. The big clue as to who the killer might be. like I said, amazing tension, amazing atmosphere. I love all of the scare slash murder sequences in this movie. I think of the three, of like the murder sequences wise, you got to go with this one, definitely. Story and logic wise, that's where Bird definitely takes this one over, where I really like the psychosomatic kind of craziness with the ending. I really think this one in particular, it goes batshit with its ending, and like logically, I don't think this makes any fucking sense. But we'll go there right now. Why not? We'll get into a little bit of the spoilers here. It is revealed that his wife is the killer. Of course, played by Mimsy Farmer. Nina Tobias is the wife in this. A very short-haired, blonde lady, crazy lady. She is the killer in this, and the interesting fucking thing is, like, if you really think about all the trouble she went through to fuck with him, like, she tried to make it like look like he killed somebody to blackmail him. That goes nowhere. Why did they fucking do that? Just odd. Then, like, she says that her father treated her like a boy because he always wanted her to be a boy, and it traumatized her. And because she didn't get a chance to kill him, years later she snapped out of it, got married, and her husband now reminds her of her father. Like, what the fuck? The fucking finale of this is so weird, where she's just spieling. She's like, "You son of a bitch! I did not get the chance to kill my father because I was in the asylum, but now I will kill you, you son of a bitch!" And she starts shooting fucking Michael Brandon. He's like, he's shooting the fuck out of him, and he's in the corner. He's like, "Oh shit, you crazy bitch!" And she's really, I mean, hamming it up. I mean, the extravaganza in this motherfucker. And I'm like, what the fuck is this finale? It's just so out there. And then, of course, God comes in and tackles, gets the gun away from her. She takes a run out the door, and she gets in a car, drives away, and then accidentally drives into a truck. And it's amazing how Argento shoots it in like slow-mo. Apparently it took like 12 tries to get it right, but eventually they got the sequence right, and Argento liked how it looked. She gets decapitated and the car blows up. It's a very interesting callback to the character in the movie keeps having these wild dreams of these people being decapitated, and you never really quite sure what they mean until you get to the ending where our villain is decapitated. Like, oh, she got decapitated. I get it. I know Argento in the interview with this, he was saying that he didn't quite understand why he even put it in the film. He was like, why are all those dream sequences with the decapitations? He's like, I can't even explain it. I don't know. I thought that was really funny. But I don't know. I think this movie is really fucking good. Good music. I think it has very good acting from the supporting roles. It's definitely better paced than Cat o' Nine. It's a little long. It's like a little over 100 minutes, like 102, 103 minutes. Actually, I could tell you right here. 103 minutes. Yeah, 103 minutes. It runs a little long, but it's definitely really solid. And I think a bigger step up from Cat o' Nine. It has what an Argento fan would be looking for. Those gory, over-the-top death sequences. The really good style and tension. The Morricone score, which is great. And I would say of the three, this is the scariest. I think this is the scariest of the three. Like, this is a movie that will really unsettle you, and they even, before this movie starts, it says this movie is meant to be watched in complete darkness. And it's like, oh shit, like, I don't know. I think this is great. The transfer is great. All of the fucking grain is almost removed here, which is astounding to see, because this movie never really got a great release until this. And I'm glad I have it. I did overbite, I did overpay, but it is what it is. I'm happy to own it now. I'm happy to have it as a part of the Argento collection and to complete the Three Animals trilogy, if you will. But I really love Four Flies and Grey Velvet. If I was to rank this one, definitely over Cat o' Nine, but not as good as Bird. I would go like a solid 8 out of 10. I think this is a solid 8, 7.5, 8 out of 10, right around there. It's not quite the 9 that Bird is, but it's definitely a damn good movie. I really like it. And I think it's a solid, finale to a trilogy. It's really good, solid finale trilogy movie. And it would have been interesting if this was it, if he had just gone on to make comedies like he was going to want to do. It would have been interesting if this was the last giallo he made. But of course, it is what it is. He didn't end up doing that. He ended up becoming the maestro, if you will. But let's go back to comments, because we're way behind here. Oh my God, how many fucking, I think we were here. The keyboard of Deep Purple on an Argento movie. It's a great sliding door. Hush, great song. Love Bump. Oh my God, dude, I'm a huge Deep Purple guy. Love it. Smoke on the water. Love Smoke on the Water. Apologies to everyone in the chat if I said anything offensive. My comments are intended to. Oh my God, no, it was not in. Oh my God, you're fine, Missy. No worries. I was kidding with you. You're fine, Missy. Absolutely, I agree with Sean and Neon. Absolutely. Mayan is here. Hello, Mayan. You'd have to try pretty damn hard to offend Miss Carter. To offend me. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, this is. We're all friends here, man. No one's gonna get offended. Unless you say Dracula 3D is better than Suspiria, maybe then somebody will get offended. The plot of the movie sounds like it could have the inspiration from movies like the original Prom Night, House and Sorority Row, or even I Know What You Did Last Summer. Well, it's a lot better than all three of those movies. I will guarantee you that. It's a fuck ton better than Prom Night. If John having a Sleepaway Camp 3 poster right next to a Clockwork Orange doesn't offend you, it's fucking great. I fucking. Those are both in like my top 20 movies too. So funny enough, I don't know. Imagine there were 4 of them. I swear it's dead right here on the G. It's fucking dead. I don't want to pick it up with my fucking hands, but I swear to you, it's a dead fly. Crowdy, I murdered a fly while I was reviewing 4 Flies in Grey Velvet. How weird is that? I'm watching like a fly on the wall, Growdy. Oh, hey, man, I hope you're not this fly. This fly is fucking dead. Rest in pepperonis. Why to go with the fly killing on camera? Diodato, you're canceled. Oh, my God, no. I didn't kill a turtle, at least. I guess there's 3 flies of Grey Velvet. Yeah, there is. The analyzing a dead person's eye to find the last thing they saw sounds like inspiration for Wild Wild West, which, yeah, no, definitely. That's very true. This is making me think of History of Violence. Have you seen? Wow, Argento seems to remind people of movies for sure. Everyone's like, this reminds me of this. This reminds me of this. Have you seen? Of course, yeah, I love that movie, though. Cronenberg's the man. Trauma or 4 Flies? 4 Flies. Easily 4 Flies for me. I like Trauma, but 4 Flies, easy. That's a short to me for running time. Well, you're a big Criterion guy. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you. Grana, can I share this stream on Facebook and Twitter? Absolutely. I give it an 8 out of 10 too. What's your top Argento flick line? I would go, okay, Suspiria is my favorite. Suspiria. Then it's Deep Red, because I think what Deep Red in a way is, I fucking just dropped the bird with the crystal plumage. Deep Red is like these 3 movies put together and perfected. I think Deep Red's a 10 out of 10. So Deep Red is always my number 2. It's Suspiria, then it's Deep Red. 3, I go Phenomena. I think Phenomena is phenomenal. I love Jennifer Connelly in it. I love the fucking heavy metal in it. Just fucking incredible movie. Just one of his most grand movies. Just like really well rounded. Opera. I love Opera. I think Opera is probably his last. I don't know if it's his last masterpiece, but it's his the last masterpiece of his golden run. Like that, I love Opera. If he had just retired after Opera, I mean, the guy was untouchable. He still is. And then 5th, I would say, would be Tenebrae. Those are my top 5 Argentos. It would be Suspiria, Deep Red, Phenomena, Opera, Tenebrae. Those are my top 5. And then, honestly, Mother of Tears would come next, which pisses people off. But I guess Stenhall would be right there, too. Love Stenhall syndrome. So, I mean, it is what it is. Have some unpopular opinions. And then Bird would be on there. Definitely be in the top 10. It's so hard. It is hard to pick a favorite Argento because, as I was saying, and I was going to get to this, the interview he does on this, which of the 3 interviews I watched of Argento this week for show prep, this was the favorite interview he did, was on this 4K. He said something that made me emotional and made me think about the guy. He said in the interview towards the end, he goes, you think about it, man, I've been making movies for over 50 years. I've been alive 80 years. And what I've done with my life is make film for over 50 years. And it made me think, it made me sit here and I got emotional. I was like, man, look at it. This guy dedicated his life to the pictures, dedicated his life to making film. And it got me going. It got me thinking. And to ask this question to everybody, is Dario Argento the greatest of all time? Is he? Is he the greatest of all time? I know, we live in a world of Cravens and Carpenters and Romeros and, Hoopers and, so Raimi's, so many great filmmakers that have Diodatos and Fulcis. Is Argento the greatest of all time? Is Argento the number 1 horror filmmaker to ever do it? And you know what? The more I think about it, there's nobody's filmography I appreciate as a whole more. And I think my answer to the question would be yes. I put a poll up on Instagram and I said yes. It was like, hell yeah, no way, overrated, or one of the best. A lot of people voted one of the best because it's hard to pick a best. But in my opinion, Dario Argento is the greatest to ever do it. I really thought about it and I said, is there anyone's filmography I'd take over this? Take over all the great films Argento made. And the answer would be no. I think Argento is the greatest of all time. I really do. I'm curious to hear what you guys say. Take a photo of The Fly and put it on. You know what? Here, I will see if you could see it. I gotta have to take the comment down. So let's take the comment down. You see that right on the G? That's a dead fly. I shit you not. He's just turned belly up. But that is a dead fucking fly here. I don't want to fucking touch it. It's gross. But I shit you not. That is my proof that I killed a fucking fly. Fucking so weird. I was like, well, what are the odds of this shit right now? Where the fuck were we? I unclicked the comment. I lost where the fuck I was. Shit. I think we were here. Tenebrae for me. Love Tenebrae. I mean, you can't go fucking wrong with that. LOL. Glad to see we're being very mindful of The Fly. Yeah, no, I swear it's right there. He died for our sins. God damn it. He died for Ennio Morricone and Argento having a fight. I really enjoyed that one, Sean. You're under arrest for killing a fly. I have the proof I killed him. Deep Red is number one for me. Phenomena. Well, okay, so we have the same top three, just different order. I mean, you can't go. I think all three of those movies are 10 out of 10s. Like I would say all of those top five I just said from top to bottom are 10 out of 10 movies. I really believe that. Like I really think Opera and fucking Tenebrae are 10 out of 10s too. Like those movies are great. And like Bird is a 9. Bird is close. And it would be in the top 10, but it wouldn't quite make the top 5. I will get any Argento 4K I can, so I don't feel bad about the price for Severin. That was my excuse anyways. I feel the same way. If you're going to go all out for a 4K, you should do it for Argento film because that's definitely the guy that used the most style, used the most color. Like you should go for it. Granted, you're talking to a hypocrite. I still have I believe either Anchor Bay or Blue Underground DVD of Opera. I've never upgraded Opera. I'm waiting for the 4K because I saw it in the theater in 4K and it was blown away. And I do have the Blu-ray of Phenomena, not the 4K. However, I can be persuaded to buy the 4K. I should upgrade. I really should upgrade, but maybe one day. Yeah, Tenebrae is clever, pretty shocking too, and gory. That's the one where, like, if you go into Cat 09, want that gore, and you don't get it, okay, watch Tenebrae. You're going to get all that fucking gore and then some. I mean, you could taste the gore of that film. Tenebrae hooked me on giallo. Well, that makes fucking sense. Under arrest or under 6 feet. Well, geez, this motherfucker, I can't bury him 6 feet. For me, deep Suspiria, Tenebrae, Phenomena, Plumage. Well, I think that's a wonderful top 5. And I got 4 of the, well, one of them was reviewed on the show and the other 4 are in my top 5. So I completely feel that. I think my top 3 would be Suspiria, Phenomena, Deep Red. I have the same top 3, just different order for 2 and 3. Great picks. No, Kubrick is the greatest director of all time. But of course, I would say that being my channel name. I mean, all time in any film, yeah, Kubrick has got to be. I mean, but I would say of horror, I go Argento. I think Argento's the greatest. I know that's not horror director, so maybe in that case, Romero. Well, I know Alfa Romero's in the house, and I know who his favorite is, which Romero probably be my second favorite, if that means anything. You know what? As much as I love Carpenter, I think Argento is truly the greatest. His imagery, his stylish filmmaking will always stay with me. Yeah, I like, and I love Carpenter too, but there's just Argento is just fucking great. I know Carpenter's a big Argento fan himself. Like I've seen a lot of interviews where Carpenter put him over, and also he always smashed Cronenberg over. Like I know Carpenter is always big proponent saying that he felt Cronenberg was the best director out there. You know, he said Cronenberg's better than all of us. Like he said that. I always thought that was an interesting take. Looking at entire filmographies, Argento has more hits than for me. That I would agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And even towards the latter half of his career, made good movies. Like, I love Stan Hall. I love Sleepless. I love Mother of Tears. I know people will fucking freak out, but I love those three movies. For me, Tenebrae, Suspiria, Deep Red, Four Flies, Phenomena. Great fucking top 5. Again, 4 of my fucking top 5 are on there. 4 Flies at 4, I think, is a very cool choice. The Fly is incriminating you, Grande. It's waiting for the police right on the Jeep. Don't call the police on me. That would be so horrible. If I imagine I get arrested on the graveyard. Live murders only on the graveyard. Yep, I killed the fly. If Argento was American rather than Italian, it would have been treated like Hitchcock. I really believe in that statement. I agree too. I think that's a very because a lot of people like if I read you reviews of The Bird with Crystal Plumage, a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's trying to be Hitchcock. He's trying to be Hitchcock." Man, I like Argento better than Hitchcock. I don't care what anybody fucking says. I'll take fucking Suspiria over anything fucking Alfred Hitchcock ever did. I'll take fucking Phenomena over anything Alfred Hitchcock ever did. Deep Red, anything over Alfred. I would. I just would. I really would. On only on the Graveyard. Romero number 1, Argento number 2, Fulci 3? Question mark. Bruno Mattei number 3. Very interesting. Okay, I've never heard anyone put Bruno Mattei that high. That's a cool pick. Dario Argento has so many good films. It's insane. And his Masters of Horror episodes, Jennifer and Peltz. Oh my God, dude, how could I fucking forget those? Love Jennifer and Peltz. Jennifer is the horror of sexuality. Fucking great episode of television. Scared me to my core. And then Peltz. Peltz is just wonderful fucking gore horror with Meatloaf and John Saxon and Voodoo Raccoon Haunted Fur. I mean, absolutely out there, but I love it. I love both of those. Absolutely love those episodes. So that's a very good point. I would say, those episodes too would be right there. Argento's films wouldn't be Argento films if he was American. That's true. Yeah, his Italian style like that he brings are very, very special. At least The Fly landed on the G for Giallo. Yeah, or G for Grande's Graveyard, whatever. It landed on the right letter. Hitchcock is better than Argento. No fucking way. In my opinion, no fucking way. I don't like I like a lot of Hitchcock films. I like To Catch a Thief. I like Psycho. I like Vertigo. I like a lot of his films, but no fucking way. I would put Argento way over. I really would. I know I'm alone in that. Well, I don't know if I'm alone in that. I'm sure there'd be some people in here that would agree with me. But that's just me. I personally, I fucking totally. Okay, I was going to say, I was like, wow, Bruno Mattei next to Argento and Romero over Carpenter, Craven, like Bruno Mattei, Night of Living Rats. I was thinking you might be kidding, but I was like, I don't know Alpha that long. Maybe you have a Bruno Mattei shrine in your bedroom that I don't know about. Maybe you're Alpha Romero on here, but on like other fucking like BitChute, your fucking Alpha Mattei. That would be amazing. If that's true, by the way, please, I want to see the link to that channel. I love Hitchcock. Peltz really gripped me the first time I saw it. I love that episode. I love that episode too. I'm telling you, the poor thing is trying to type GGG, Grande's Graveyard got me. The alliteration sucks. The rest of Masters of Horror is so hit or miss. I mean, yeah, it's true, but a lot of those episodes are really good. Pick Me Up I think was one of the best things that the slasher genre has produced ever. I love Pick Me Up. Larry Cohen, may he rest in pepperonis. Love Pick Me Up and Warren Cole and fucking Michael Moriarty, Fruza Bulk. Love that. That's arguably my favorite episode. Love Peltz. Love Jennifer. Love Cigarette Burns. Love, oh my God, Right to Die. That was great. Loved Right to Die. So many good Masters of Horror episodes. I really liked that show. We're no longer friends, Grande. No, I know. Well, I'll put you this way. I like Kubrick way more than Hitchcock as well. Big Kubrick guy. Kubrick would be right up there with my favorite non-horror. Argento is greater than Hitchcock. Fuck yeah, let's go. Have you ever talked about any Hitchcock films? I have not. I've never done Hitchcock on here. I've talked about Psycho 2 recently, but that's not a Hitchcock film. Sequel to one. Hello, Bruno Mattei. Fuck the world. Yes, Bruno Mattei. Fuck the world. Love Bruno Mattei, man. But yeah, no, so that has been the Three Animals trilogy. Of course, the Bird with the Crystal Plumage, and of course, the Cat o' Nine Tails, and of course, Four Flies in Grey Velvet. Gotta love these movies. Just so much fun this week, show prepping and watching all these and the features and all that. It's been a lot of fun. For me, Argento better than Alfred. However, without Hitchcock, I'm sure what you're saying. We wouldn't have Argento without Hitchcock. And I don't think without Bava. I always, like when people compare Argento to Hitchcock, I don't get the comparison as much as Argento was more of a student of Bava. Watch what Bava was doing. That's the guy that Argento kind of learned from, in my opinion. And even so far as had him work on the set of Inferno before he passed away. He helped Argento make Inferno, which is very interesting. Like that torch was passed to Argento over his own fucking son. He went past Lamberto, who made Macabre and A Blade in the Dark, and I love Lamberto, but he went right to, he knew Dario was the fucking guy. Dario's the best. Don't forget, oh my God, Takashi Miike, love Imprint. Neil has a great review. I think he reviewed all the episodes of that. Great series. If you guys haven't checked it out on Neil's channel, if you haven't subscribed to Neil Black Reviews, great guy, great channel. I like Kubrick more than Hitchcock too, Grande, but not by much. I understand that. Excellent episode. Long live Dario Argento. Thank you so much. I like Baba. I don't love Baba. I love Baba. I think Mario Baba is fucking top 10 director of all time, if not top 5. I really believe that. I think above all else too, and I mentioned this in the Video Nasties episode where I talked about Bay of Blood. He was arguably the best cinematographer ever. As cinematographer, there are very few guys as good as fucking Mario Bava. Like maybe a Dean Cundy, maybe. But Mario Bava was fucking great, man. I love Mario Bava's work. I just think the guy was great. And I definitely, number two things. Number one, I want to do a Bava show. And number two, I wish Bava's movies would get more like physical media releases. Like we need better release of fucking Blood Black Lace. Because the Arrow release, apparently the formatting is wrong. Like the aspect ratio is fucked up. And then the one that, oh my God, I forget who put out the other edition of it. Apparently their transfer is not as good as the Arrow transfer. So that fucking sucks. Like I want a big Blu-ray box set of Bava films. Like that's gotta fucking happen at some point. Because they had the DVDs from way back in fucking day, but that's, I want a little bit of better quality, especially for a Bava film. Bueno notte, grande, ciao. Good night, Brian. Mario Bava is good shit. Just for Blood and Black Lace alone, dude, yeah. I mean, I think Mario Bava is up there with the best ever. I always really enjoyed Argento's style, the lighting, the quick edits. He def has his own way of doing things. Bava is king. Yeah, see, I know a lot of people tell you Bava's better. I know quite a few people tell you Fulci's better, which is an interesting topic. I mean, I love Fulci, and Fulci was probably more well-rounded. Like Argento made a lot of gialli, right? Where Fulci made comedies, adventure films, action films, sci-fi films, horror films. He made Fulci was more well-rounded. So I think a lot of people point to Fulci being, hey, he could do more when it comes to genres. Let's meet in the middle ground. A Bava for style, but Hitchcock for the cuts. Dario cuts are very Hitchcock. That's true. I don't know. I think he gets compared so much to Hitchcock that I just get I'm like, I feel like I see more of Mario's style, Bava's style in there, as opposed to Hitchcock. At least that's me. I don't know. When I watch an Argento, I see more Bava in there than I see Hitchcock. That's just me, though. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that. I do love Bay of Blood. Oh, my God. Bay of Blood's great. Planet of the Vampires is a huge influence on Alien. Well, love Planet of the Vampires as well. Bye, everybody. See you all next week, only on The Graveyard. Well, tomorrow night, actually. I finally saw Bay of Blood a few months, and Kino did the Blu-rays out of print. Yeah, exactly. That's out of print. Black Sunday has a good Blu-ray from Kino. The Blood and Black Lace, both editions I've heard are inferior, and we're waiting for a 4K of that. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I've just never fallen in love with the overall body of work like I have with Argento. I would agree with that too. But granted, I'd like to dive into more of Bava's stuff, like his earlier works I'd like to see. I have quite a few Bava films on Blue, mostly from Kino, but they're pretty bare bones. Yeah, no, and that's a shame because Bava's not here to talk about them. So many directors are compared to Hitchcock. That's true. That's very true. And I guess that maybe the cliche annoys me. Good night, Miss C. So that will wrap the show up. I see everybody's kind of tapping out. It's a 2-hour show. I'm sorry if I went a little long, but it's so much fun talking about the maestro with you guys. My favorite all-time filmmaker, horror filmmaker, is Dario Argento. Really, when you start watching his work and thinking about it, and I was sitting here show prepping for it, I really came to the realization. I'm like, he's probably the best ever, man, in my opinion. But tomorrow we'll be live in living color again for a very special Friday night edition of Grande's Graveyard, where Anthony from Feverland Dreamland Theater will come on. We will be talking all things Twilight Zone, Season 1, Part 1, the first 18 episodes of Season 1. You're not going to want to miss. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mernsy has a comment before we leave. Yeah, Fulci over Argento for me, but variety is the spice of life. Grande, another wicked episode. Nobody does it like Italy. Hell yeah, baby. Argento. Goodbye from Salem, Mass, and kicking names and candy ass only on The Graveyard. Okay, well, everybody, hope to see you guys tomorrow night. If not, have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. I appreciate you all. Excellent show. Thank you so much. Take care, Graveyard Crew. Have a great weekend, everyone. Absolutely. We will catch you tomorrow night. Only, come on, for Dario Argento on The Graveyard. Too sweet, peace, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.